In the quiet of the night, when the stars hang like lanterns in the sky, there's a whisper in the wind that speaks of old stories. Stories that are as vast as the land itself, stretching from the towering mountains to the wide open plains, from the deep forests to the endless deserts. These stories are part of the very soil of America, woven into the hearts of its people, passed down through generations. They're not just tales, they're living, breathing parts of the country's soul. Long before the first settlers arrived, before the cities rose, and before the roads crisscrossed the land, there were the people of the land, the Native Americans. They had their own stories, rich and full of meaning. These stories weren't written in books, but carried in the hearts and minds of the people, shared around campfires, and whispered under the stars. The creatures in these tales were as real to them as the earth beneath their feet. There was the thunderbird, a mighty bird with wings so large that they could block out the sun. When it flapped its wings, it caused thunder, and when it blinked, lightning struck. The thunderbird wasn't just a bird, it was a protector, a guardian of the people, a symbol of power and strength. It soared high above the mountains, watching over the land, reminding everyone that there was something greater, something more powerful watching over them. But not all creatures were protectors. There was also the Wendigo, a creature born from the darkest parts of the human soul. It was said to be a person who had turned into a monster, driven by an insatiable hunger for human flesh. The Wendigo was a warning, a reminder of what could happen when one lost their humanity. It roamed the forests, a terrifying presence that chilled the bones of anyone who heard its name. The Wendigo wasn't just a creature of the woods, it was the embodiment of fear and the darkness that could consume a person if they weren't careful. As time passed, new stories began to emerge. With the arrival of settlers came new myths, new creatures that reflected the changing landscape of America. These new tales were just as powerful, just as full of emotion, as those that came before. In the deep, dark woods of New Jersey, there was a tale of a creature that would make even the bravest shudder. The Jersey Devil, they called it. Born from a cursed woman, it was said to be a terrifying beast with the body of a kangaroo, the head of a horse, bat-like wings, and a blood-curdling scream. For centuries, people claimed to have seen it, heard it, felt its presence lurking in the shadows. The Jersey Devil was more than just a creature, it was the fear of the unknown, the terror that something dark and monstrous could be hiding just beyond the trees. Then there was Mothman, a creature that appeared in West Virginia during the 1960s. People described it as a humanoid figure with glowing red eyes and wings like a moth. It appeared out of nowhere, usually before a disaster, and then disappeared just as quickly. Mothman wasn't just a creature, it was a harbinger, a sign that something terrible was about to happen. It was the fear of impending doom, the anxiety that something bad was just around the corner. These stories spread, taking on lives of their own. They became more than just local tales, they became part of the larger American consciousness. People whispered about them, told their children to beware of them, and sometimes even saw them for themselves. The creatures of American mythology became part of the fabric of the nation, woven into its very identity. But not all creatures were born of ancient fears. Some came from the fears and anxieties of modern times. In the deserts of the Southwest, there were whispers of a creature that drained the blood of livestock. The Chupacabra, they called it. Described as a small, reptilian creature with spines down its back, it was said to leave behind only the drained, lifeless bodies of animals. The Chupacabra wasn't just a creature, it was the fear of what lurks in the dark, of what might be out there that we can't see, can't explain, but know is there. And then there's Bigfoot, the most famous of them all. A giant, ape-like creature that roams the forests of the Pacific Northwest. For decades, people have claimed to see it, hear its calls, find its footprints in the mud. Bigfoot is more than just a creature, it's a symbol of the wild, untamed parts of America that still exist, the parts that haven't been conquered or tamed by civilization. It's the belief that there's still something out there, something wild and mysterious that we haven't yet discovered. These stories, these creatures, are more than just myths. They're reflections of the fears, hopes, and dreams of the people who tell them. They speak of the power of nature, the darkness within us all, the unknown that lies just beyond the edge of the light. They're stories that give us goosebumps, make our hearts race, and remind us that there's still mystery in the world, still things we don't understand, still things that can't be explained. These creatures of American mythology aren't just tales from the past, they're part of the living, breathing culture of the country. They're stories that have been passed down from generation to generation, evolving and changing with each telling, but always holding on to that core of emotion, that core of fear, or wonder, or awe. So when the night is dark and the wind whispers through the trees, remember that the stories are still out there. The creatures are still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting to be found, waiting to be believed in. And whether you believe in them or not, they believe in you. There's a story whispered among the trees, carried by the wind that sweeps through the mountains. It's a story of a mighty being, one that soars above the highest peaks, its wings spanning the sky, casting shadows over the earth below. When the storm clouds gather, when the air hums with the electricity of a coming storm, it is said that this being is near. The skies darken, and the earth trembles as it approaches. This is the thunderbird, the sky guardian, a force of nature both feared and revered by the people who first walked this land. Long before the cities rose and the rivers were tamed, the thunderbird was there, watching over the world from above. To the Native American tribes, the thunderbird was more than just a creature, it was a powerful spirit, a protector, and sometimes, a harbinger of things to come. It was said that the thunderbird lived in the highest mountains, where the earth touched the sky, where no man could reach. From there, it watched over the land, its keen eyes seeing all, its powerful wings ready to stir the winds and bring the storms. The thunderbird was not a being of gentle rains or soft breezes. It was the master of the storm, the bringer of thunder and lightning. When the thunderbird flew, its wings beat so powerfully that they caused the thunder to roll across the sky, echoing from mountain to mountain. Lightning flashed from its eyes, striking the earth below, splitting trees, and setting the world alight with its power. The rain that followed was the thunderbird's gift, quenching the fires, nourishing the earth, and bringing life back to the land. In many Native American cultures, the thunderbird was seen as a guardian, a protector of the people. It was said that the thunderbird would watch over the tribes, keeping them safe from harm, driving away evil spirits, and protecting them from their enemies. The thunderbird was a warrior spirit, and those who sought its favor would offer prayers and gifts, hoping to earn its protection in times of war or trouble. The thunderbird was fierce, but it was also just, punishing those who wronged others and rewarding those who lived with honor and respect. But the thunderbird was not just a protector, it was also a symbol of power and strength. To the people, the thunderbird represented the forces of nature that were beyond human control. It was a reminder that the earth and the sky were alive with spirits and powers far greater than anything man could muster. The thunderbird storm was a display of that power, a reminder that even the strongest warrior was but a speck in the face of the natural world. The people respected the thunderbird, not just for its protection, but for the awe and fear it inspired. The tales of the thunderbird vary from tribe to tribe, each with its own version of the story, its own interpretation of the thunderbird's power. Among the Lakota, the thunderbird was known as Wakinyan, a being so powerful that even the mere sight of it could drive a man mad. The Lakota believed that the thunderbird could take human form, appearing as a man with great wings folded behind his back, his eyes blazing with lightning. It was said that Wakinyan would come to those in need, offering them his strength and power in times of great struggle. To the Ojibwe, the thunderbird was a bringer of balance, a protector of the natural order. They believed that the thunderbird would battle the great serpents that lived in the lakes and rivers, keeping them from rising up and destroying the world. The thunderbird storms were not just displays of power, they were battles in the sky, clashes between the forces of good and evil, with the thunderbird fighting to keep the world in balance. In the Pacific Northwest, the Haida and Tlingit peoples spoke of the thunderbird as a creator of life. They believed that the thunderbird brought the rains that allowed the forests to grow, that filled the rivers with fish, and that nourished the land so that the people could survive. The thunderbird was not just a force of destruction, it was a force of creation, bringing life to the world through its storms. But the thunderbird was not always a kind protector. There are stories of the thunderbird's wrath, of how it could turn its power against those who angered it. Among the Kwakwaka'wakw people, there is a tale of a time when the thunderbird became angry with the people for their disrespect. The thunderbird unleashed a storm so fierce that it destroyed villages, uprooted trees, and swept away everything in its path. The people learned from that day to respect the thunderbird, to honor it with prayers and offerings, and to never take its power for granted. The thunderbird was more than just a part of the natural world, it was a bridge between the physical and the spiritual. It was said that the thunderbird could travel between worlds, moving from the sky to the spirit world and back again. The thunderbird was a messenger, carrying the prayers of the people to the spirits, and bringing back their blessings. The people would create totems and carvings of the thunderbird, not just as symbols of power, but as connections to the spiritual world, as a way of keeping the thunderbird close, of keeping its protection near. The stories of the thunderbird are stories of power, of awe, of respect. They are stories that remind us of the forces that shape our world, forces that are beyond our control, forces that we must respect and honor. The thunderbird is not just a tale from the past, it is a reminder that the world is alive with spirits and powers that we cannot see but can feel in the rumble of thunder, in the flash of lightning, in the wind that stirs the trees. The thunderbird is a reminder that we are part of a world that is much bigger than ourselves, a world that is alive with mystery and power, a world that we must honor and respect. In the heart of the cold, unforgiving forest, where the trees stand tall and the wind howls like a lost soul, there is a story that chills the blood of those who dare to listen. It's a story of hunger, of madness, of a creature born from the darkest corners of the human spirit. When winter sets in, when the nights grow long and the cold seeps into your bones, it's said that this creature is on the prowl, searching for its next victim. This is the Wendigo, a spirit of cannibalism, a being that haunts the minds and hearts of those who hear its tale. The Wendigo is not just a monster of flesh and bone, it is a shadow that creeps into the soul. In the legends of the Algonquian people, the Wendigo was once a human, a person who gave in to the most forbidden of all hungers. In the darkest moments, when food was scarce, when survival meant everything, this person committed the ultimate sin, they consumed the flesh of another human being. But instead of quenching their hunger, this act only made it worse. The more they ate, the more they craved, until the hunger consumed them entirely, transforming them into something monstrous, something no longer human. It is said that the Wendigo is impossibly thin, its body emaciated, its skin stretched tight over its bones. Its eyes are sunken, its lips tattered and bloody, its breath a foul stench of decay. But its hunger is endless, a gnawing, insatiable void that can never be filled. The Wendigo roams the forests, always searching, always hungry, its every thought consumed by the need to devour, to satisfy the hunger that will never be sated. The Wendigo is more than just a physical creature, it is a spirit of the cold, of the endless winter. It is said to move with the wind, slipping through the trees like a shadow, its presence felt in the sudden drop of temperature, in the way the air grows still and silent when it is near. The Wendigo doesn't just kill, it devours, consuming not only the body but the very essence of its victims. Those who encounter the Wendigo are never the same, their souls touched by its icy grasp, their minds haunted by its hollow gaze. The legend of the Wendigo is a warning, a tale told to remind people of the dangers of losing one's humanity. It is a story of what happens when desperation drives a person to the brink, when the line between survival and monstrosity is crossed. The Wendigo is a reflection of the darkness that can live within us all, the part of the human spirit that, when pushed to the edge, can turn into something unrecognizable, something terrifying. In the dead of winter, when the world is covered in snow and the nights are long and bitter, the Wendigo is said to be at its strongest. It feeds on the desperation of those who are lost in the wilderness, those who are starving, freezing, who would do anything to survive. It whispers to them in the darkness, tempting them, urging them to give in to their hunger, to take that first bite. And once they do, there is no turning back. The Wendigo claims them, body and soul, transforming them into another Wendigo, another lost spirit doomed to wander the forest in search of flesh. The stories tell of those who have heard the Wendigo's call, who have seen its shadow in the trees, who have felt its icy breath on the back of their necks. They speak of hunters who ventured too far into the forest, who found themselves trapped by the snow, their supplies running low, their stomachs empty. They speak of the terrible choice that these men faced, of the way their eyes grew hollow, their hands trembling as they stared at the bodies of their fallen companions. And they speak of the horror that followed, the way those men were never the same, the way they became something else, something terrible, something that was no longer human. The Wendigo is a tale of terror, but it is also a tale of the loss of oneself, of one's humanity. It is a reminder that there are things in this world that are worse than death, that to lose one's soul, to become a Wendigo, is a fate far more terrifying than anything else. The Wendigo is a story that lives in the cold, dark places of the world, in the hearts of those who have heard its tale and in the minds of those who fear that they, too, could become what they dread most. The Wendigo is not a creature to be fought or defeated. It is a force of nature, a reminder of the darkness that can lie within us all. It is a story that haunts the night, that lingers in the cold, that makes the blood run cold and the heart race with fear. The Wendigo is a tale that is passed down from generation to generation, a warning, a cautionary tale that tells us to hold on to our humanity, no matter the cost, no matter how desperate the times may become. For in the heart of the wilderness, where the snow falls thick and the nights are endless, the Wendigo waits, always hungry, always searching, always ready to claim another lost soul. And those who hear its call, who feel its icy breath, must remember the stories, must remember the warnings, must remember that there are some hungers that can never be satisfied, some sins that can never be undone. The Wendigo is a story that lives in the bones, a story that will never die, a story that reminds us of the darkness that can live within us all. In the quiet hours of the night, when the moon casts long shadows and the desert air is thick with silence, there is a presence that moves unseen. It's a presence that sends chills down the spine, that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand on end. For among the Navajo, there are whispers of beings who walk in the dark, beings who can slip between the skin of man and beast, who wield powers that twist the very fabric of reality. These beings are called skinwalkers, shapeshifters who hold a terror so profound that the mere mention of their name is enough to freeze the blood. Skinwalkers are not born, they are made. They are people who have chosen a path so dark that it strips away their humanity, leaving only a shadow of what once was. The Navajo believe that those who become skinwalkers are witches, individuals who have committed the most heinous of acts, who have forsaken the sacred ways of life for the power that comes with walking in both the world of men and the world of animals. It is said that to become a skinwalker, one must perform a ritual so vile, so filled with evil, that it severs their ties to all that is good and decent. It is a path of no return, a descent into a darkness that consumes everything in its wake. The power of the skinwalker lies in its ability to transform, to take on the shape of an animal at will. In the blink of an eye, a skinwalker can become a wolf, a coyote, a raven, or any other creature it desires. But these transformations are not mere illusions, they are complete, allowing the skinwalker to move with the speed of a wolf, to see with the eyes of an eagle, to hunt with the cunning of a fox. The skinwalker becomes the animal, taking on not just its form, but its instincts, its strength, and its senses. But this power comes at a terrible price. For in becoming a skinwalker, one must give up their very soul. They become a creature of the night, bound to the shadows, living on the fringes of society, feared and loathed by all. The skinwalker's power is fueled by darkness, by the suffering of others, by the pain and terror they inflict. They are said to possess the ability to curse their victims, to bring sickness, death, and despair with nothing more than a glance or a whispered word. The skinwalker's very presence is a blight, a stain on the earth that cannot be washed away. There are stories told among the Navajo of those who have encountered a skinwalker, of the terror that follows in its wake. They speak of people who have seen a shadow moving at the edge of their vision, only to turn and find nothing there. They speak of animals acting strangely, of wolves that walk on two legs, of owls with human eyes. They speak of a sense of dread that fills the air, of an unnatural silence that falls over the land when a skinwalker is near. And they speak of the fear, the bone-deep, soul-crushing fear that grips the heart when one realizes that they are being hunted by a creature that can wear any face, that can take any form, that can be anywhere, at any time. The Navajo believe that the only way to stop a skinwalker is to know its true identity. For beneath the fur, beneath the feathers, beneath the claws and teeth, the skinwalker is still human. And it is said that if you can discover who the skinwalker is in its human form, you can kill it. But this is no easy task, for the skinwalker guards its secrets closely, and those who seek to uncover its true face often find themselves the target of its wrath. The skinwalker will stop at nothing to protect itself, to keep its power hidden, to ensure that it can continue to walk the earth, unseen and unchallenged. The terror of the skinwalker is not just in what it can do, but in what it represents. It is a symbol of the darkness that can reside in the human heart, of the lengths to which some will go for power, of the ways in which evil can corrupt and consume. The skinwalker is a reminder that the line between man and beast is thinner than we might like to think, that beneath the surface, there is a darkness that, if given the chance, can take hold and turn us into something unrecognizable, something monstrous. The skinwalker is a story that lives in the shadows, in the places where the light does not reach. It is a story that is whispered in the night, when the wind howls and the coyotes cry, when the world feels just a little bit closer to the edge of something dark and terrible. It is a story that reminds us that there are things in this world that we cannot see, that we cannot touch, but that can touch us, that can reach out from the darkness and change us in ways we can never undo. For those who live in the lands where the skinwalker is said to roam, the fear is real, the danger is ever present. It is a fear that keeps people close to the fire, that keeps children from wandering too far from home, that keeps the night filled with prayers and the hope that the morning will come. The skinwalker is not just a legend, it is a part of the world, a part of the night, a part of the human experience that reminds us of the fragility of the line between what we are and what we could become. The skinwalker is a story that leaves its mark, a story that lingers long after it has been told, a story that makes the darkness feel just a little bit deeper, a little bit closer, a little bit more dangerous. It is a story that warns us, that teaches us, that reminds us of the power of the night, of the power of the shadows, of the power that lies within us all, waiting to be unleashed. In the stillness of the forest, where the trees whisper secrets to the wind and the underbrush hides more than just shadows, there is a rustling, a faint sound that makes your heart skip a beat. It's not the wind, not an animal, but something else, something that watches from the corners of your vision, something that plays tricks on your mind. The Wampanoag people speak of these beings with a mix of caution and respect, for they are the puckwudgies, the trickster dwarfs of the forest, creatures that are as mischievous as they are mysterious. The puckwudgies are small, standing no taller than a child, with grayish skin, large ears, and noses that seem too big for their faces. Their eyes gleam with a mischievous light, and their mouths often twist into knowing smirks, as if they are always one step ahead of you, always in on a joke that you can never quite understand. They move with a swiftness that defies their size, slipping through the trees, disappearing into the shadows, leaving behind only a sense of unease, a feeling that you are not alone. But don't let their size fool you, these creatures are far from harmless. The puckwudgies are known for their tricks, and their tricks are not the kind that make you laugh. They delight in causing confusion, in leading travelers astray, in making you doubt your own senses. You might find your belongings missing, only to discover them later in places you would never have put them. Or you might hear a voice calling your name, drawing you deeper into the forest, away from the safety of the path. And if you follow that voice, if you let yourself be lured by the sound, you may find yourself lost, with no way to return, surrounded only by the laughter of the puckwudgies echoing through the trees. There are stories of those who have encountered the puckwudgies, of people who wandered into the woods and were never the same again. They tell of travelers who found themselves walking in circles, of hunters who lost their way, of men and women who disappeared without a trace, their only companions the flickering lights and the strange, eerie sounds that filled the air. The puckwudgies take pleasure in these games, and the fear they cause, and the way they can twist reality around you, making you question what is real and what is not. But the puckwudgies are not just tricksters, they are also dangerous. When angered, they can turn from mischievous to malevolent, from playful to deadly. It is said that they can control the animals of the forest, sending snakes to bite, porcupines to attack, or even wolves to hunt. They can shoot arrows that cause illness, bring about misfortune, and even death. Those who disrespect the puckwudgies, who do not heed the warnings of the Wampanoag, often find themselves at the mercy of these creatures, their lives turned upside down, their fate sealed by a being no taller than their knee. The Wampanoag people know better than to take the puckwudgies lightly. They speak of them with a mix of fear and reverence, understanding that these creatures are not to be trifled with. They offer them gifts, leave small tokens of respect in the woods, and take care not to offend them. For the puckwudgies are unpredictable, their moods shifting like the wind, and it is better to stay on their good side than to risk their wrath. Yet, for all their trickery and danger, there is something almost pitiable about the puckwudgies. There are legends that speak of them as once being friendly to humans, helping them, guiding them through the forest, sharing their knowledge of the land. But something changed, something happened that turned them against humanity, that made them the tricksters they are today. Some say it was betrayal, others say it was neglect, but whatever the cause, the puckwudgies became bitter, their kindness turned to malice, their helpfulness to harm. Now, they are creatures of the in-between, living in the spaces where the light doesn't quite reach, where the line between this world and the next blurs. They are neither fully good nor fully evil, but something in between, something that cannot be easily understood or categorized. They are the puckwudgies, and they are as much a part of the forest as the trees themselves, as much a part of the Wampanoag world as the sky above. So when you find yourself in the woods, when the shadows start to stretch and the air grows thick with silence, remember the puckwudgies. Remember that the forest is not just a place of beauty, but a place of mystery, of magic, of creatures that walk just out of sight, creatures that can change your life in an instant, with a trick, a laugh, a whispered word. The puckwudgies are always there, always watching, always waiting for the moment to strike, to pull you into their world, a world where nothing is as it seems, and everything is just a little bit darker, a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more real. In the heart of the ancient forests, where the mist clings to the earth like a veil and the rivers whisper old songs, there lies a presence that makes the very ground tremble with its power. It is said that deep beneath the roots of the tallest trees, within the darkest caverns, a creature of immense strength and fearsome beauty slumbers. This is the atina, the horned serpent of Cherokee legend, a being whose very name strikes fear into the hearts of those who dare speak it aloud. The atina is no ordinary serpent. It is a creature of unimaginable size, with scales that shimmer like polished stones and eyes that burn like embers in the night. A great, curved horn rises from its head, sharp and gleaming, a weapon of both defense and death. But it is the atina's gaze that is truly terrifying, for it is said that to look into its eyes is to invite your own doom, to see the end of your days reflected back at you with cold, unfeeling clarity. Those who meet the atina's gaze are struck down where they stand, their hearts turning to stone within their chests, their lives snuffed out like a candle in the wind. The Cherokee people speak of the atina with a reverence born of fear, for they know that this creature is not of the natural world. It is a being of great power, a guardian of the ancient ways, and its wrath is swift and merciless. There are tales of hunters who ventured too close to its lair, lured by the promise of its shining scales or the power of its horn, only to vanish without a trace, their bodies never found, their spirits lost to the darkness. The atina does not forgive those who trespass upon its domain, and those who seek to challenge it find only death and despair. But the atina is not merely a monster, it is a creature of deep wisdom, a keeper of secrets older than the mountains themselves. The Cherokee believed that the atina was once a man, a warrior of great strength and courage who was transformed into this fearsome beast as a punishment for his pride. Cursed to wander the earth in the form of a serpent, the atina now guards the hidden places of the world, the places where the ancient spirits dwell, where the boundary between the living and the dead is as thin as a breath. It is said that those who are pure of heart, who approach the atina with respect and humility, may be granted a vision of the future, a glimpse of the world beyond this one. Yet, for all its power and wisdom, the atina is a creature of solitude, bound to the earth by the weight of its own existence. It moves through the world like a shadow, unseen and unheard, a presence that is felt rather than seen. The earth trembles beneath its coils, the rivers swell with its passing, and the air grows thick with the scent of rain and earth. The atina is a force of nature, a being that embodies the wild, untamed power of the world, a reminder that there are things in this world that cannot be controlled, that cannot be tamed, that exist beyond the reach of human understanding. The Cherokee tell of a time when the atina will rise from its slumber, when the earth will shake and the skies will darken with its fury. It will come forth from the depths, its scales glittering like the stars, its eyes burning with the fire of the sun, and it will bring with it a reckoning. The atina is not a creature of mercy, it is a creature of justice, of balance, of the old ways that have been forgotten by the world. When it comes, it will bring with it a storm, a cleansing fire that will sweep across the land, purging the earth of those who have lost their way, who have turned their backs on the sacred ways of the ancestors. But until that day comes, the atina remains hidden, a guardian of the old ways, a reminder of the power that lies beneath the surface of the world. It is a creature of legend, a being that exists at the edge of human understanding, a symbol of the wild, untamed forces that shape the world. The atina is a story that is told in whispers, a story that is felt in the bones, a story that reminds us that there are things in this world that are greater than ourselves, things that we can only glimpse in our dreams, in the quiet moments of the night when the world is still and the air is thick with the scent of rain. The atina is a presence that lingers in the corners of the mind, a shadow that moves just beyond the edge of sight, a reminder that the world is full of mysteries that we cannot hope to understand. It is a creature of fearsome beauty, of immense power, a being that embodies the wild, untamed spirit of the earth. The Cherokee know that the atina is not to be trifled with, that it is a creature of both wrath and wisdom, a guardian of the old ways, a reminder of the power that lies beneath the surface of the world. And so, the atina remains, a silent sentinel, watching over the world from the shadows, a creature of legend, a being that exists in the space between dreams and reality. It is a story that is told in the quiet moments of the night, a story that lingers in the mind long after the words have been spoken, a story that reminds us that the world is full of wonders and terrors, of things that we cannot hope to understand, but that we must respect all the same. The atina is a part of the world, a part of the earth, a part of the story that has been told since the beginning of time, and it will continue to be told as long as the earth endures, as long as there are those who remember. In the vast, open landscapes where the sky meets the earth, where the wind whispers ancient songs across the plains, there roams a figure as old as time itself. His presence is felt in the rustle of the grass, in the shadows that dance in the moonlight, and in the echoes of laughter that seem to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. He is Coyote, the trickster god, the one who plays with fate, bends the rules, and brings both chaos and wisdom wherever he goes. Coyote is not a being of pure malice or kindness, he is something in between, a reflection of the world's complexity. His stories are told among many tribes, each with its own version of his mischief, his cleverness, and the lessons he leaves in his wake. To some, he is a creator, a being who brought fire to humanity, who shaped the world with his cunning. To others, he is a fool, a creature whose tricks often backfire, bringing him as much trouble as they do to those he targets. But one thing is certain, Coyote is never predictable. He is the embodiment of the unexpected, the unpredictable twist of fate that no one sees coming. He is the laughter that breaks the silence, the light that flickers in the darkness, the moment of confusion that turns everything upside down. His stories are filled with twists and turns, with moments of triumph and disaster, with laughter and tears. In one story, Coyote decides that he wants to steal the sun. He is tired of the darkness, tired of the cold, and so he hatches a plan to bring warmth and light to the world. He sneaks into the sky, slipping past the guards with his usual cunning, and grabs hold of the sun, tucking it under his arm. But the sun is heavy, and as he runs back to Earth, it begins to burn him, its heat searing his fur and flesh. Coyote is in pain, but he is also determined, and so he keeps running, even as the sun burns him alive. Finally, he reaches the earth and throws the sun into the sky, where it stays to this day, bringing light and warmth to the world. But Coyote's fur is forever singed, a reminder of the price he paid for his cleverness. In another tale, Coyote is hungry and decides to trick a group of animals into giving him their food. He tells them that he has found a great treasure, a stash of food that will last them all through the winter, but that they must give him their food first as a sign of trust. The animals, trusting Coyote's silver tongue, hand over their food, only to find that the treasure is nothing but a pile of stones. Coyote laughs at their foolishness, but his laughter is short-lived, for the animals turn on him, chasing him through the woods until he is forced to flee for his life. His trick has cost him more than he gained, and he is left with nothing but the sting of his own pride. Yet, for all his tricks, Coyote is not a being of pure selfishness. There are stories where his cunning brings about great change, where his tricks lead to the creation of new lands, new creatures, new ways of living. He is a creator as much as he is a destroyer, a being who understands the balance of the world, who knows that sometimes chaos is necessary for growth, that sometimes the rules must be broken to make way for something new. In one such story, Coyote sees that the world is barren, that the people are starving, and he decides to change this. He travels to the land of the spirits, where the seeds of life are kept, and tricks the spirits into giving him the seeds. He brings them back to earth, scattering them across the land, and soon the world is filled with life, with plants and animals, with food and beauty. The people praise Coyote for his cleverness, for his bravery in facing the spirits, and the world is forever changed by his actions. But even in these moments of creation, Coyote is not without his flaws. His pride often gets the better of him, his tricks often spiral out of control, and he finds himself caught in the very traps he sets for others. He is a being of contradictions, of light and dark, of wisdom and folly. His stories are a reminder that life is not always straightforward, that the path is often winding and filled with unexpected turns. Coyote's tales are filled with laughter, but it is a laughter tinged with something deeper, something that speaks to the heart of what it means to be alive. His tricks, his cunning, his mistakes, they are all part of the human experience, part of the dance of life that we all take part in. He is a mirror, reflecting our own flaws and strengths, our own moments of foolishness and wisdom. As you listen to the stories of Coyote, you cannot help but feel a connection to this ancient being, this trickster god who has walked the earth since time began. His laughter echoes through the ages, a reminder that life is not always what it seems, that sometimes the unexpected is what makes life worth living. Coyote is more than just a character in a story, he is a force of nature, a symbol of the chaos and beauty that is life itself. So when the wind whispers through the trees, when the stars twinkle with a mischievous light, remember Coyote. Remember the trickster god who brought fire to the world, who shaped the earth with his cleverness, who made us laugh and cry with his tricks and his tales. Coyote is always there, in the corners of our minds, in the stories we tell, in the laughter that breaks the silence. He is a reminder that life is a journey filled with twists and turns, with moments of joy and sorrow, with tricks and truths. And in the end, it is this journey, with all its ups and downs, that makes life truly worth living. On cold, misty nights, when the moon hides behind heavy clouds and the air is thick with an uneasy stillness, the people of West Virginia remember a figure that once haunted their dreams. It was the 1960s, a time when fear and uncertainty lingered in every shadow, and in the small town of Point Pleasant, something unexplainable took hold of the collective imagination. Those who saw it would never forget. They called it the Mothman, a creature that seemed to emerge from the darkness itself, a harbinger of doom. The first sightings came from the lonely roads, where headlights cut through the fog like knives, only to reveal something that shouldn't exist. A pair of glowing red eyes, like embers burning in the night, staring through the windshield. The creature stood tall, over 6 feet, with wings that stretched wide, casting a shadow that swallowed the light. It moved with a strange, almost otherworldly grace, its wings beating silently as it soared into the sky, leaving terror in its wake. People who encountered the Mothman spoke of an overwhelming sense of dread, a fear that dug deep into their bones and left them shivering long after the creature had vanished. It wasn't just the sight of the beast that chilled them, it was something more, something that words could barely describe. It was as if the Mothman carried with it a warning, an omen of something terrible yet to come. Those red eyes, unblinking and cold, seemed to see not just into the night but into the future, and what they saw was nothing but despair. As the sightings continued, the story spread. People whispered of the creature in hushed tones, too afraid to say its name out loud. The Mothman appeared near homes and fields, by the river's edge, always watching, always waiting. It didn't attack or speak, it simply observed, as if biding its time. And with each new sighting, the sense of impending doom grew stronger, like a storm gathering on the horizon. The fear was palpable, and soon, the Mothman became more than just a local legend. Reporters flocked to Point Pleasant, eager to uncover the truth behind the sightings. But the more they searched, the less they understood. There were no clear answers, only more questions, more mysteries. Why was the Mothman here? What did it want? And, most terrifying of all, what would happen when it finally decided to act? Then came the disaster. On December 15, 1967, the Silver Bridge, which connected Point Pleasant to Ohio, collapsed into the icy waters of the Ohio River. 46 people lost their lives in an instant, their cars plunging into the depths, the steel and concrete crumbling like dust. The tragedy struck the town like a hammer blow, leaving the community in shock, their grief and confusion mingling with the fears that had been building for months. In the aftermath, as people searched for answers, many began to link the disaster to the Mothman. Had it been a warning? Had the creature tried to alert them to the impending collapse? Or was it somehow connected to the tragedy, a dark force that had come to claim lives? The questions swirled in the minds of those left behind, but there were no answers, only the lingering presence of the Mothman, a shadow that refused to fade. Some believed that the Mothman was a guardian, a misunderstood being that had tried to prevent the disaster. Others saw it as an omen, a creature of pure evil that brought death in its wake. But whether the Mothman was a force of good or evil, one thing was certain: it had left an indelible mark on the town of Point Pleasant. The creature had become a symbol of fear, of the unknown, of the thin line between the ordinary and the extraordinary, between life and death. In the years that followed, the sightings dwindled, and the Mothman slowly retreated into the realm of legend. But for those who had seen it, the memory remained as sharp as the night they first encountered it. The glowing red eyes, the silent wings, the overwhelming sense of doom, they could never forget. The Mothman had shown them that there were things in this world that defied explanation, that could not be easily understood or dismissed. It had shown them that sometimes, the things we fear the most are the things we cannot see, the things that lurk in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to emerge. And so, the Mothman lives on, not just in the stories of those who witnessed it, but in the very fabric of Point Pleasant. It is a part of the town's history, a reminder that the past is never truly gone, that the echoes of those terrifying nights still linger in the corners of the old roads, in the mist that rises from the river, in the darkness that falls over the town each night. The Mothman is a story that refuses to die, a story that continues to haunt the dreams of those who dare to remember. Even now, as the years pass and the world changes, the legend of the Mothman endures. It is a tale of fear and mystery, of tragedy and the unknown. And for those who believe, it is more than just a story, it is a warning, a reminder that there are forces in this world that we cannot control, that there are things that watch us from the darkness, waiting for the moment when they will reveal themselves once more. The Mothman may be gone, but its presence is still felt, a chill in the air, a shadow in the night, a harbinger of doom that could return at any time. In the heart of New Jersey lies a stretch of dense, untamed forest known as the Pine Barrens. It's a place where the trees seem to whisper secrets, where the shadows grow long and deep, and where the air is thick with a sense of foreboding. For centuries, the Pine Barrens have been home to a creature that defies explanation, a beast that has haunted the dreams of those who dare to enter its domain. This is the legend of the Jersey Devil, a creature born from a curse, a dark figure that has terrorized the woods and the people who live near them for generations. The story begins in the early 18th century, in a time when the world was still wild and untamed, when superstition and fear ruled the minds of the people. Deep in the Pine Barrens, a woman named Mother Leeds lived in a small, decrepit house with her 12 children. Life was hard, and Mother Leeds struggled to provide for her family. But when she discovered she was pregnant with her 13th child, a wave of despair washed over her. How could she care for another mouth to feed? Overwhelmed by the burden, she cursed the unborn child, crying out that it would be the devil himself. On a stormy night, when the wind howled through the trees and the sky was lit by flashes of lightning, Mother Leeds went into labor. The midwives gathered around her bed, their faces pale with fear as the storm raged outside. The baby was born, but as the women looked upon the newborn, their joy turned to horror. The child began to change before their eyes, transforming into something monstrous. Its tiny body grew and twisted, sprouting wings like a bat, its feet becoming hooves, its face elongating into a snout with sharp, glistening teeth. The creature let out a terrifying screech that echoed through the house, and with a flap of its wings, it flew up the chimney and into the night. From that night on, the Jersey Devil became a part of the Pine Barrens, a shadow that lurked in the dark woods, a beast that brought fear wherever it went. The locals spoke of the creature in hushed tones, telling stories of its terrifying appearance, its glowing red eyes, its long, twisted horns, its powerful wings that could carry it across the sky in a heartbeat. They warned of its scream, a sound so piercing and full of malice that it could freeze the blood in your veins. As the years passed, the legend of the Jersey Devil grew. Travelers passing through the Pine Barrens would speak of seeing a strange creature lurking in the shadows, its eyes glowing in the darkness. Farmers would find their livestock slaughtered, their throats torn open by some unseen predator. The creature's presence was felt everywhere, a constant reminder that something dark and malevolent called the Pine Barrens home. One of the most chilling stories came from a hunter who ventured deep into the woods, determined to prove that the Jersey Devil was nothing more than a myth. Armed with a rifle and a heart full of bravado, he set out to track the beast. But as the sun set and the forest grew dark, he realized he was not alone. He heard the sound of wings beating above him, felt the air grow cold as a shadow passed overhead. He looked up and saw the creature, its eyes glowing like embers in the night. It swooped down on him with terrifying speed, its claws outstretched. The hunter fired his rifle, but the bullets passed through the creature as if it were made of smoke. The beast let out a blood-curdling scream and disappeared into the night, leaving the hunter trembling with fear, his bravado shattered. The Jersey Devil was not just a creature of the night, it was a symbol of the darkness that lurked in the human soul. It was a reminder of the power of curses, of the consequences of anger and despair. The people of the Pine Barrens believed that the Jersey Devil was a punishment, a physical manifestation of the evil that could be born from a mother's curse. It was a warning to all who heard the story that some things were beyond human control, that some evils could not be undone. The legend of the Jersey Devil persisted through the centuries, with sightings reported even in modern times. In the early 20th century, a wave of encounters with the creature sent waves of panic through the region. Newspapers reported sightings of a winged beast flying over towns, of strange tracks found in the snow, of people hearing the creature's scream echoing through the night. The state of New Jersey was gripped by fear, as people locked their doors and refused to venture out after dark. But the Jersey Devil remained elusive, a phantom that could not be caught or killed. It was as if the creature was made of the very shadows that filled the Pine Barrens, slipping through the fingers of those who tried to hunt it. The stories continued, each one adding to the legend, each one making the Jersey Devil more terrifying, more real. The Pine Barrens themselves seemed to embrace the legend, becoming a place where reality and myth intertwined. The dense, dark woods, with their twisted trees and hidden paths, were the perfect home for a creature born from a curse. The air was thick with the sense that anything could happen, that at any moment, the Jersey Devil might emerge from the shadows, its wings beating silently as it hunted its next victim. And so, the legend of the Jersey Devil endures, a tale passed down through the generations, a story that continues to haunt the people of New Jersey. It is a reminder that the world is full of mysteries, that there are forces at work that we cannot understand. The Jersey Devil is not just a creature of the Pine Barrens, it is a symbol of the unknown, of the fears that lie buried deep within us, waiting to be awakened. It is a story that will never die, as long as the Pine Barrens stand, as long as the night is dark, and as long as there are those who believe in the power of a curse. In the quiet countryside of Tennessee, where the fields stretch wide and the trees stand tall, there is a place that holds a story unlike any other. It's a story that has sent shivers down the spines of those who hear it, a story of a presence so malevolent, so terrifying, that it became known as the Bell Witch. The tale begins with a family who wanted nothing more than to live in peace, but instead found themselves haunted by a force they could not see, a force that tormented them, leaving a mark on their lives and on the folklore of America forever. In the early 1800s, the Bell family, John Bell, his wife Lucy, and their children settled on a farm in Adams, Tennessee. The land was fertile, the community was welcoming, and life seemed good. But that peace was shattered one night when strange noises began to echo through their home. It started with faint scratching sounds, like the claws of an animal scraping against the walls. The family dismissed it as rats or other small creatures, but the noises grew louder, more insistent, and more terrifying. Then came the knocking. Heavy, deliberate knocks that shook the walls and the floors, but when John Bell rushed outside to find the source, there was nothing there. The disturbances continued, growing more frequent and more menacing. The children would wake in the night to the sound of their bed covers being ripped away, their hair pulled by invisible hands. The house was filled with whispers, low and guttural, words that couldn't be understood but were filled with malice. John Bell, a man of strong faith, prayed for deliverance, but the presence only grew stronger. It wasn't long before the family realized that they were not dealing with an ordinary haunting. This was something darker, something that seemed to have a mind of its own. It became known as the Bell Witch, a spirit that could speak, a spirit that could hurt, a spirit that wanted something from the Bell family, though they couldn't understand what. Neighbors and friends came to the Bell home, drawn by the stories of the haunting. Some came out of curiosity, others to offer help, but all left with the same fear. They too heard the voices, felt the cold breath on their necks, saw objects move on their own. The Bell Witch wasn't just confined to the house, it followed the family wherever they went, a shadow that loomed over them day and night. The most terrifying aspect of the Bell Witch was its hatred for John Bell. It tormented him relentlessly, weakening his body, clouding his mind. He became frail, his health deteriorating rapidly under the weight of the constant attacks. The spirit would curse him, threatening his life, and as time went on, those threats became more real. The Bell Witch seemed to take pleasure in his suffering, as if it were feeding off his pain. John's daughter, Betsy, was another target of the witch's cruelty. The spirit would slap her, leaving red marks on her face and arms. It pulled her hair, pinched her, and wouldn't let her sleep. Betsy became a shell of her former self, her bright spirit dimmed by the relentless abuse. The witch even forbade her from marrying the man she loved, threatening to kill him if she did. The haunting continued for years, and the Bell family was desperate for answers. They called in priests, mediums, and even skeptics, but nothing could rid them of the spirit. Some believed that the Bell Witch was the vengeful ghost of a woman named Kate Batts, a neighbor who had once quarreled with John Bell. Others thought it was a demon, drawn to the family for reasons no one could understand. As the years went on, the Bell Witch's attacks grew more violent. John Bell was poisoned, and the witch claimed responsibility, laughing as the family grieved. His death marked a turning point in the haunting. The spirit's presence began to fade, but it never truly left. Betsy eventually moved away, trying to escape the memories of the torment she had endured, but the legend of the Bell Witch followed her wherever she went. The story of the Bell Witch spread far beyond the small town of Adams, Tennessee. It became one of the most famous hauntings in American history, a tale told around campfires, a warning of the dangers that lurk in the shadows. Even today, the Bell Witch is a name that strikes fear into the hearts of those who hear it. The Bell family's suffering has become a part of the land itself, a haunting that has echoed through the generations, a story that will never be forgotten. The Bell Witch left behind more than just a trail of fear, it left a legacy. The Bell family's farm became a place of pilgrimage for those who wanted to experience the supernatural for themselves. Some claimed to hear the witch's voice, others felt a cold hand brush against their skin. The land where the Bell family once lived is still shrouded in mystery, a place where the past and the present seem to intertwine, where the presence of the Bell Witch can still be felt by those who dare to look. The Bell Witch is more than just a ghost story, it is a reminder of the darkness that can exist in the world, of the unknown forces that can reach out and touch our lives. It is a story of fear, of pain, and of a family that was torn apart by something they couldn't understand. The bell which may have disappeared into the shadows, but its legacy lives on, a chilling reminder of the horrors that can lie just beyond the edge of the light. In the vast and rugged landscapes of the American West, where the plains stretch endlessly beneath a sky so wide it swallows you whole, there exists a creature as elusive as the wind. It's a creature that seems almost too strange to be true, yet its legend has been passed down through generations, whispered around campfires and shared in hushed tones. This creature is the jackalope, a rabbit with antlers, a figure both whimsical and mysterious. The jackalope isn't like any other animal. It's a contradiction, a blend of the familiar and the fantastical. You might think of a rabbit as something gentle, soft, and harmless, but when you add antlers, sharp and strong, it transforms into something altogether different. The jackalope is said to be as quick as a lightning bolt, dashing through the sagebrush with a speed that leaves only a blur in its wake. But it's not just speed that makes the jackalope so hard to catch, it's also its cunning, its ability to outwit even the most skilled hunter. Stories of the jackalope often tell of cowboys who, after a long day on the trail, would sit by their campfires and listen to the night sounds. Among the rustling leaves and the calls of nocturnal creatures, they might hear something unusual, a haunting, almost human-like cry that echoed across the plains. They knew what it was, the jackalope, mimicking their voices, playing tricks on them. It's said that the jackalope can perfectly imitate the sounds it hears, fooling anyone who tries to track it down. More than one cowboy has been led on a wild chase, only to find that the jackalope had been leading him in circles, laughing as it disappeared into the darkness. There's a particular charm to the jackalope, a creature that straddles the line between reality and imagination. It's not just a monster or a ghost, it's something more playful, more mischievous. And yet, there's a sense of melancholy, too, in the way the jackalope exists just out of reach, always seen but never caught. It's a reminder of the untamed spirit of the West, a land where the impossible can seem almost ordinary. The legend of the jackalope has grown over the years, becoming a symbol of the American West's wildness and mystery. In some tales, the jackalope is said to be a rare and precious creature, so much so that it's nearly impossible to find. Hunters have spent years searching for one, hoping to capture it and prove its existence, but the jackalope remains elusive, always one step ahead. There are those who claim to have seen the jackalope with their own eyes, to have glimpsed its antlers shining in the moonlight. They speak of its eyes, large and dark, filled with an intelligence that goes beyond that of an ordinary animal. The jackalope is said to be wise, old as the hills, with knowledge of secrets that no human could ever understand. It's a creature that embodies the mysteries of the land, the sense that there is always something just beyond our grasp, something wild and wonderful that we may never fully comprehend. The jackalope is more than just a creature of myth, it's a symbol of the untamed spirit that lives in the heart of every explorer, every wanderer, every person who has ever looked out at the horizon and wondered what lies beyond. It's a creature that inspires both laughter and awe, a reminder that the world is full of surprises, that there are still things out there that can't be explained or understood. For those who believe in the jackalope, it's not just a story, it's a piece of the West itself, a living, breathing part of the landscape. It's a reminder that even in a world that seems to be shrinking, where every corner has been mapped and every mystery solved, there are still places where the wild things roam, where the jackalope can run free, unseen and untamed. In the quiet moments of dusk, when the sun dips low and the shadows grow long, you might find yourself listening to the sounds of the night, wondering if that rustle in the brush is just the wind, or something more. The jackalope is out there, somewhere, a creature of legend, a figure of myth, and perhaps, just perhaps, something more real than we'd like to admit. It's a reminder of the magic that still exists in the world, the wildness that can't be tamed, the stories that live on in the hearts of those who are willing to believe. In the shadowy corners of the desert, where the sun bakes the earth by day and the nights grow cold and still, there is a creature that strikes fear into the hearts of those who dare to whisper its name. It's a name that sends shivers down spines, a name that speaks of terror and mystery. Chupacabra. The blood-sucking beast of the Southwest, a creature born of nightmares, lurking in the darkness, waiting. The first stories of Chupacabra began to surface in the late 20th century, but the fear it evokes feels ancient, primal. There's something deeply unsettling about the tales, stories of livestock found drained of blood, bodies left cold and lifeless, with strange puncture wounds on their necks. Farmers would wake to the eerie silence of their fields, only to discover that something had passed through in the night, leaving death in its wake. They say the Chupacabra is like nothing seen before, a grotesque, almost reptilian creature, with spines along its back and eyes that burn with an unnatural glow. Its very appearance is a contradiction, both familiar and alien, blending characteristics of animals we know with something much more sinister. It's a creature that defies explanation, a beast that seems to belong to another world, yet is all too real in the minds of those who have glimpsed it in the moonlight. People talk of the Chupacabra in hushed tones, their voices trembling as they recount sightings. There's the old rancher who swears he saw it out by the fence line one night, moving with an eerie, almost supernatural speed. He talks about its eyes, those red, glowing eyes that seem to pierce through the darkness, watching, waiting. And then there's the young woman who was driving home late one night, her headlights catching a glimpse of something hunched over by the side of the road. She'll never forget the way it turned to look at her, its gaze cold and unfeeling, before it disappeared into the desert like a shadow. The fear of the Chupacabra isn't just about the creature itself, it's about what it represents. It's a fear of the unknown, of the things that move in the night, unseen and unheard. It's the fear that something is out there, something we can't understand, something that defies logic and reason. The Chupacabra is more than just a beast, it's a manifestation of our deepest fears, a symbol of the unknown terrors that lurk just beyond the edge of our understanding. But the Chupacabra is also a story of survival, of a creature that has somehow managed to evade capture, to remain a mystery despite the countless attempts to find it. There have been expeditions, hunts, and searches, but the Chupacabra always seems to slip away, leaving nothing behind but fear and questions. Some say it's a demon, sent to punish the wicked. Others believe it's a government experiment gone wrong, a creature that escaped from a lab and now roams the wilds, searching for its next victim. What makes the Chupacabra so terrifying is the way it preys on the most vulnerable. It doesn't attack the strong or the brave, it goes after the helpless, the defenseless. It's a creature that strikes in the dead of night, when its victims are most vulnerable, draining the life from them with a cold, calculated precision. It's this coldness, this lack of emotion, that makes the Chupacabra so horrifying. There's no mercy, no hesitation, just an insatiable hunger that drives it to kill. As the legend of the Chupacabra has spread, so too has the fear. People in towns and villages across the Southwest have come to dread the creature, to see its shadow in every rustle of the wind, to hear its footsteps in every creak of the floorboards. They build their fences higher, lock their doors tighter, and keep a watchful eye on the night, knowing that the Chupacabra could be out there, lurking in the darkness. The Chupacabra is a reminder that there are still mysteries in this world, still things that we don't understand. It's a creature that embodies the unknown, a beast that defies explanation, and in doing so, it becomes more than just a legend, it becomes a symbol of the fear that lives within all of us. The fear of what we can't see, of what we can't understand, of what might be waiting for us in the shadows. In the dense, misty forests of the Pacific Northwest, where the towering trees cast long shadows and the air is thick with the scent of pine, there is a creature that has haunted the imagination of many. A creature so elusive, so mysterious, that even the whisper of its name sends shivers down spines. Bigfoot. The giant who roams the wilderness, a phantom that leaves behind only footprints and questions. It begins with a story, often told around campfires where the flickering flames create eerie shapes in the darkness. The tale of a giant, covered in thick, matted hair, moving silently through the forest. They say its eyes are like embers, glowing in the night, watching from the shadows. The stories come from those who claim to have seen it, if only for a moment, a fleeting glimpse of something massive, something not quite human, disappearing into the trees as quickly as it appeared. The footprints are the most tangible evidence. Huge, deep impressions left in the soft earth, far larger than any human could make. They seem to follow no pattern, appearing in the most remote, unreachable places. Hunters, hikers, and explorers have stumbled upon them, each time filled with a sense of awe and dread. The footprints tell a story of a creature that is both powerful and cautious, a being that knows the land better than anyone else, that moves with a grace and stealth that defies its size. Some say they've heard it, a low, mournful howl that echoes through the forest, raising the hairs on the back of their necks. It's a sound that doesn't belong to any known animal, something primal, something ancient. It's a call that resonates deep within, stirring a fear that is hard to explain, a fear that speaks to the unknown, to the possibility that there is something out there that we don't understand. The sightings span across decades, from the thick forests of Washington to the rugged mountains of Appalachia. Each account is different, yet eerily similar. The stories describe a creature standing 7, maybe even 8 feet tall, with broad shoulders and long, powerful arms. Its face is often hidden in the shadows, but those who have seen it up close speak of intelligence in its eyes, a deep, almost human understanding that sends chills down their spines. But it's the way it moves that's most unsettling. Despite its size, it's said to be incredibly fast, disappearing into the wilderness with a speed that defies its bulk. There's a sadness in the stories too, a sense of loneliness that clings to the legend of Bigfoot. It's as if the creature is a relic of a time long past, a survivor in a world that no longer has a place for it. Some believe it is the last of its kind, wandering the forests in solitude, avoiding the ever-encroaching presence of humanity. The thought of such a creature, alone and unseen, strikes a chord deep within, a reminder of the wild places that are disappearing, of the mysteries that are slowly being unraveled, leaving us with less wonder, less magic. But Bigfoot remains. Despite the skeptics, despite the countless expeditions that have turned up nothing but stories and footprints, the legend endures. People continue to search, driven by a mixture of curiosity and fear, hoping to catch a glimpse of the elusive giant. There's something about the idea of Bigfoot that refuses to die, something that speaks to a part of us that longs for the unknown, that needs to believe in something beyond the ordinary. For those who have encountered Bigfoot, the experience is often life-changing. They speak of an overwhelming sense of awe, of standing in the presence of something truly wild, truly untamed. It's a reminder that there are still places in this world where nature reigns supreme, where humanity's reach hasn't yet extended. Bigfoot is a symbol of that wildness, a reminder that there are still mysteries in this world, still things that we cannot explain. And so, the legend of Bigfoot continues to grow, passed down through generations, from one storyteller to the next. It's a legend that has become a part of the fabric of American folklore, a story that captures the imagination and refuses to let go. Because in the end, Bigfoot is more than just a creature. It's a symbol of the unknown, of the wild places that still exist in this world, and of the mysteries that will continue to haunt us long after the footprints have faded and the howls have echoed into silence. The moon was high, casting an eerie glow over the still waters of Scape or Swamp. The cypress trees stood like silent sentinels, their gnarled roots twisting into the murky depths below. The air was thick, heavy with the scent of decaying leaves and the distant croak of frogs. It was a night like any other in the swamps of South Carolina, until it wasn't. Until the shadows began to move, and something that should not exist emerged from the darkness. The first sighting came from a young man driving home late one summer night. The road was empty, the kind of quiet that seeps into your bones and makes you feel alone in the world. But as he rounded a bend, his headlights caught something in the middle of the road. At first, he thought it was a large animal, maybe a deer. But as he got closer, his heart began to race, and his hands tightened on the steering wheel. This was no deer. It was standing on two legs, towering over the hood of his car, its skin glistening in the light, a sickly green, like algae covering an ancient rock. And then it turned its head, and the young man's blood ran cold. Red eyes. Burning, unnatural, like two embers smoldering in the night. The creature stared at him, unmoving, as if it were sizing him up. Its body was muscular, covered in scales that seemed to ripple as it breathed. Sharp claws extended from its hands, glinting in the light like the edge of a knife. And then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the creature let out a guttural hiss and leaped toward the swamp, disappearing into the trees with a speed that defied its size. The young man didn't stop. He drove as fast as he could, not daring to look back, his mind racing to make sense of what he had just seen. But there was no sense to be made, only fear. When he finally reached home, he told his family what had happened, his voice trembling as he described the creature. They listened, skeptical at first, but the fear in his eyes was real, and soon, word began to spread. The legend of the lizard man was born. In the days that followed, more sightings were reported. People claimed to have seen the creature lurking in the shadows of the swamp, its red eyes watching them from a distance. Cars parked near the swamp were found with deep scratches, as if something with claws had tried to tear them apart. The stories were always the same, of a towering, reptilian figure, moving with a speed and grace that was both terrifying and mesmerizing. But it wasn't just the sightings that fueled the fear. It was the silence of the swamp itself. The way the usual sounds of wildlife seemed to vanish whenever the creature was near, leaving behind an oppressive stillness that weighed on the chest like a stone. Those who ventured too close to the swamp at night spoke of a feeling of being watched, of eyes following them through the trees, of an unseen presence that sent chills down their spines. As the legend grew, so did the fear. People began to avoid the swamp, especially after dark. Children were warned to stay away, and even the bravest hunters thought twice before venturing into those woods. The lizard man became more than just a story, it became a symbol of the unknown, of the dangers that lurked in the places where light could not reach. But what was it? Some said it was a mutation, a creature born of the swamp's dark waters, twisted by chemicals or some ancient curse. Others believed it was something older, a relic from a time long before humans walked the earth, awakened from its slumber by the encroachment of civilization. And then there were those who thought it was something supernatural, a spirit or demon that had taken physical form, feeding on the fear it created. Whatever it was, it left a mark on those who encountered it. They spoke of nightmares that plagued them for weeks afterward, of waking in the middle of the night with the feeling that something was in the room with them, watching. They spoke of an emptiness that settled in their hearts, a sense that the world was not as safe as they had once believed, that there were things out there that defied explanation, things that were better left undisturbed. And yet, despite the fear, there was also a strange fascination. People wanted to see the lizard man for themselves, to catch a glimpse of the creature that had become the stuff of legend. They set up cameras and traps, organized search parties, hoping to capture proof of its existence. But the swamp kept its secrets, and the creature remained elusive, slipping through the fingers of those who sought it. The legend of the lizard man of scape or swamp is a reminder of the thin line between fear and curiosity, of the way stories can take on a life of their own, fueled by the darkness that lies at the edge of our understanding. It is a tale that speaks to the human need to confront the unknown, to shine a light into the shadows, even when what we find there might be more terrifying than we ever imagined. And so, the lizard man remains, a phantom of the swamp, a creature of myth and memory, haunting the edges of our reality. It is a story that will continue to be told, passed down through the generations, each retelling adding another layer to the mystery, another shiver to the spine. For in the end, it is not just the creature itself that scares us, it is the possibility that somewhere, out there in the dark, it might still be waiting, watching, and that one day, it might step out of the shadows once more. The night was calm, with a soft breeze rustling through the trees, and the moon hung low, casting long, eerie shadows across the quiet streets of Fresno, California. Everything seemed normal, a typical night where the world slept peacefully, until something appeared that defied all logic, something that no one could have ever imagined. It started with a grainy, shaky video captured by a home security camera. The footage was old, and the quality was poor, but what it revealed was nothing short of chilling. Two figures emerged from the darkness, gliding silently across the lawn. They moved with an unnatural grace, their bodies impossibly thin and elongated. They had no arms, no discernible heads, just long, white legs that seemed to float above the ground. The sight was so bizarre, so otherworldly, that it was almost laughable, but not quite. For there was something about those figures, something unsettling that gnawed at the edges of the mind, something that made you want to look away, but couldn't. They became known as the Fresno nightcrawlers, and their story spread like wildfire. People watched the footage over and over, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. Some dismissed it as a hoax, a clever trick of light and shadow. Others were not so sure. The way the nightcrawlers moved, the way they seemed to defy the laws of physics, left many convinced that this was something real, something unexplained. And that was the most terrifying thought of all. The nightcrawlers became a sensation, not just in Fresno but across the world. They were unlike anything anyone had ever seen, creatures that seemed to belong to another world, creatures that made no sense in ours. And yet, there they were, captured on camera, walking calmly through the night as if they had every right to be there. People began to speculate about what they were. Some said they were aliens, visitors from another planet, observing us with their strange, unblinking eyes. Others believed they were spirits, perhaps the ghosts of those who had died in some tragic accident, forever doomed to wander the earth in search of peace. There were even those who thought they might be some kind of forest spirits, guardians of nature that had been forced into the open by the encroachment of civilization. But no one knew for sure, and that was the most unsettling part. As the story of the Fresno nightcrawlers grew, so did their cultural impact. They became icons of the unexplained, symbols of the mysteries that still lurk in the shadows of our world. People created art, wrote stories, and even made films about them, each one trying to capture the essence of these strange, elusive beings. The nightcrawlers became a part of the folklore of the 21st century, a reminder that there are still things out there that defy explanation, things that challenge our understanding of reality. But for those who had seen the footage, who had watched those strange, leg-like figures glide across the screen, the nightcrawlers were more than just a story. They were a source of fear, of wonder, of fascination. They were a reminder that we are not alone in this world, that there are things out there that we cannot explain, things that might be watching us even now. The sightings of the Fresno nightcrawlers were few and far between, but each one added to the legend. There were reports of similar creatures in other parts of the country, even in other parts of the world. Each sighting was met with the same mix of disbelief and terror, the same feeling of unease that came from knowing that something so strange, so impossible, could exist in our world. And yet, despite the fear, there was also a strange sense of comfort. The nightcrawlers were not menacing, they did not seem to be a threat. They were simply there, walking through the night, minding their own business. In a world filled with so much darkness, so much uncertainty, there was something oddly reassuring about these strange creatures. They were a mystery, yes, but they were also a reminder that there is still wonder in the world, still things that we do not understand. The Fresno nightcrawlers remain one of the most bizarre and fascinating mysteries of our time. They are creatures that defy explanation, that challenge our understanding of reality, and that remind us that there is still so much we do not know about the world around us. They are a story that will continue to be told, a legend that will continue to grow, as long as there are those who are willing to believe in the impossible. And so, as the night falls and the world goes to sleep, the Fresno nightcrawlers continue their silent walk through the darkness, their long, white legs gliding effortlessly over the ground. They are a mystery, a wonder, a reminder that even in this modern age, there are still things out there that we cannot explain, things that make the hair on the back of our neck stand up, that send shivers down our spines, that leave us wondering what else might be out there, lurking in the shadows, just beyond the reach of our understanding. The night was still in Flatwoods, West Virginia, the kind of stillness that seems to stretch forever, broken only by the distant sounds of crickets chirping. The moon hung low, casting a silvery glow over the quiet town. But on this particular evening in September 1952, something extraordinary was about to disrupt the peace. Something that would change the lives of those who witnessed it forever. It all began with a flash of light in the sky, a brilliant streak that lit up the darkness. Several boys playing outside saw it and pointed excitedly at the glowing object as it descended, crashing into the nearby hills. Curiosity piqued, they rushed to find their parents, eager to share the news of what they had seen. As the boys gathered their courage and ventured toward the site of the crash, they had no idea that they were about to encounter something that would challenge everything they believed about life on Earth. Accompanied by a local farmer, they made their way to the location, hearts pounding with excitement and a touch of fear. As they approached the area, an eerie glow emanated from the woods, a light that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. The air was thick with an unsettling silence, as if nature itself held its breath in anticipation. They stepped cautiously, hearts racing, and then, suddenly, they saw it. Standing before them was a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. It was tall, towering over the boys, with a glimmering green body that shimmered in the dim light. Its head was a bulbous shape, framed by a strange, spade-like crest that seemed to rise from its forehead. Long, thin arms extended from its sides, ending in claw-like hands, and its eyes were large and luminous, glowing with an intelligence that sent shivers down their spines. The flatwoods monster was real, and it was staring right at them. Fear gripped the boys, but their curiosity held them in place. They gazed at the creature, a mix of terror and wonder washing over them. The creature seemed to radiate a sense of otherness, a presence that was both frightening and captivating. In that moment, they stood at the edge of two worlds, one of the familiar and one of the unknown. As the boys took a step back, the creature made a sudden movement, causing them to gasp in unison. It raised its arms, as if trying to communicate, but there was no sound, only the deep silence that surrounded them. The air grew thick, and an inexplicable feeling of dread washed over them. It was a fear that crawled under their skin, igniting a primal instinct to flee. And flee they did, sprinting back to the safety of their homes, hearts pounding and minds racing. Word of the sighting spread quickly through the small town. The boys recounted their story, each retelling adding another layer of excitement and fear. People gathered to hear the tale, their eyes wide with disbelief and intrigue. Was it truly an alien visitor? What did it want? Questions swirled through the community like leaves in a storm, feeding a frenzy of speculation. Soon, reporters and UFO enthusiasts flocked to Flatwoods, eager to uncover the truth behind the mysterious creature. Investigations began, but the more people sought answers, the more elusive the truth became. Sightings continued, stories intertwined, and the Flatwoods monster became a fixture in the folklore of West Virginia, a symbol of the unknown, of what might lurk just beyond our understanding. As the years passed, the tale of the Flatwoods monster evolved, becoming a blend of fear, fascination, and wonder. The creature became an icon of extraterrestrial life, a representative of the mysteries that dance at the edge of our reality. People created artwork, wrote songs, and even made movies, each capturing the essence of that fateful night in their own way. For those who had witnessed the monster, the experience left an indelible mark. The boys who ran from that alien presence grew up carrying the weight of that night with them. They often recalled the fear they felt, but alongside it was a spark of wonder, a feeling that they had touched something extraordinary. Their lives would forever be intertwined with the mystery of the Flatwoods monster, a creature that challenged their perceptions of the universe. The legacy of the Flatwoods monster lives on, not just as a story of fear, but as a reminder of the mysteries that surround us. It is a tale that speaks to our desire to explore, to question, and to seek answers to the unknown. In a world where science seeks to explain everything, the Flatwoods monster stands as a testament to the magic that still exists, to the possibility that we are not alone in the universe, and to the wonder that can be found in the most unexpected places. As the sun sets over the hills of Flatwoods, casting long shadows over the land, the spirit of that night remains. The stories continue to be told, passed down through generations, and each retelling brings with it a sense of awe, a shiver of excitement. The Flatwoods monster, with its haunting presence, invites us to look up at the stars and wonder what lies beyond, reminding us that there is still so much we do not know, so much waiting to be discovered in the shadows of our reality. In the quiet town of Loveland, Ohio, nestled along the banks of the Little Miami River, stories swirl in the warm summer air like fireflies at dusk. The town seems ordinary, but it carries a weighty secret, an enigma that has haunted its streets for decades. It is a tale of a creature that has captivated the imagination of locals and curious visitors alike, the Loveland frogman. The first known sighting dates back to the spring of 1955. A businessman driving through the area spotted something unusual by the side of the road. As he approached, his heart raced, and he could hardly believe his eyes. There, under the glow of his headlights, stood a creature that resembled a frog but walked upright like a man. Its skin glimmered in the light, a mix of green and brown, and its large, bulging eyes seemed to glow with an otherworldly light. He could hardly process what he was seeing. Was it a trick of the light? A figment of his imagination? Yet, as he sped away, the image remained etched in his mind, haunting him long after. Word of the sighting spread quickly, igniting curiosity and fear. Locals began to recount their own experiences, each tale more fantastical than the last. Some claimed to have seen the frogman near the riverbank, while others insisted they had spotted it leaping through the night, its webbed feet barely making a sound. Children dared each other to venture into the woods, their hearts pounding with excitement and fear, hoping to catch a glimpse of the legendary creature. The Loveland frogman became a part of the town's identity, a symbol of mystery that drew thrill-seekers and skeptics alike. In 1972, another encounter added fuel to the fire. Two police officers patrolling the area reported seeing a strange creature on the side of the road. As they approached, their hearts raced with adrenaline. What they saw was chilling. The creature, standing about 4 feet tall, had a frog-like appearance, complete with a wide mouth and elongated limbs. In that moment, they felt a mix of fear and awe. Was this the frogman the townsfolk had whispered about for years? The officers attempted to catch the creature, but it leaped into the darkness and vanished. What should have been a straightforward night turned into a whirlwind of speculation and disbelief. How could something so bizarre exist? The story reached the news, with reports spreading beyond Loveland, sparking interest from cryptozoologists and enthusiasts eager to uncover the truth. The Loveland frogman was no longer just a local legend, it had transformed into a symbol of the unknown, a creature that sparked the imagination of many. As the years went by, sightings continued to surface, each one adding a new layer to the story. Some claimed to have encountered the creature while fishing, while others swore they saw it during moonlit hikes. Each encounter seemed to blend into folklore, a tapestry woven with threads of fear, excitement, and wonder. But as the stories flourished, skepticism also grew. Was the frogman merely a product of overactive imaginations? A result of misidentifications or hoaxes? Many dismissed the sightings as urban legends, while others were determined to prove that the creature was real. Despite the doubt, the legend persisted, and the frogman became a part of Loveland's charm, a reminder that not everything can be easily explained. The impact of the Loveland frogman reached far beyond mere curiosity. It brought the community together, igniting conversations and connections among people. Local businesses began to embrace the legend, featuring the frogman in their branding and events. Festivals celebrated the creature, attracting visitors from near and far, all eager to experience the magic of Loveland. For those who believed in the frogman, the creature represented the beauty of the unknown, a reminder that there are mysteries in the world that challenge our understanding. In an age dominated by science and reason, the legend of the Loveland frogman served as a beacon of hope, a glimmer of magic in a world that often feels mundane. As dusk falls over Loveland, the stories linger in the air like the scent of blooming flowers. Children sit around campfires, sharing tales of the frogman and daring each other to venture into the woods. The spirit of the creature lives on in their laughter and imagination, a testament to the power of storytelling and the human need to believe in something greater than ourselves. The Loveland frogman continues to haunt the dreams of those who dare to seek it. Each whisper of its name sends chills down the spine, a reminder of the possibility that something extraordinary lies just beyond the veil of reality. In a world filled with uncertainty, the frogman remains a symbol of hope, mystery, and the eternal quest for understanding. As long as there are stories to tell and imaginations to ignite, the legend of the Loveland frogman will endure, leaping through the shadows of time, capturing hearts and minds along the way. On a quiet night in April 1977, something unusual happened in the small town of Dover, Massachusetts. It began like any other evening, with the sounds of crickets chirping and the soft rustle of leaves in the wind. But as the moon rose high, it brought with it a chilling mystery that would forever change the lives of those who encountered it. In the shadows, a creature emerged, forever etched in the minds of those who witnessed its haunting presence, the Dover Demon. The first sighting happened around midnight when a teenager named Bill Bartlett was driving home. His headlights pierced through the darkness, illuminating the road ahead. Suddenly, he spotted a strange figure by the side of the road. His heart raced as he tried to make sense of what he saw. The creature had a slender, elongated body and was about 4 feet tall. Its skin glowed in the moonlight, a pale, sickly shade that sent shivers down his spine. The creature had large, oval eyes that seemed to pierce through the night, and its head was oddly shaped, almost like a grotesque pumpkin. As Bill drove closer, the creature turned its gaze towards him, and for a moment, time stood still. In that instant, he felt a mix of fear and disbelief. What was this thing? Why was it here? The creature seemed unfazed by the car's headlights, and with a swift movement, it darted away into the woods. Bill could hardly comprehend what had just happened. He was filled with a sense of dread that clung to him long after he left the scene. The next day, Bill shared his story with friends. They laughed, thinking it was just a prank or a figment of his imagination. But the laughter soon turned to concern when more sightings were reported. Another teenager, John Baxter, described a similar encounter. While walking home that same night, he spotted the creature crouched by a rock wall. It looked at him with those eerie, glowing eyes, and he felt a wave of terror wash over him. He ran, not daring to look back, feeling as if the creature was watching him the whole way home. The stories began to spread through the town, igniting a wave of fear and curiosity. People gathered to discuss the sightings, sharing their theories about what the creature could be. Was it an alien visitor? A cryptid lurking in the woods? Or simply a misidentified animal? The more they talked, the more the legend of the Dover Demon grew. What was once a quiet town was now buzzing with the chilling tales of those who had crossed paths with the creature. Local news outlets picked up the story, bringing attention to the Dover Demon. Reports of sightings poured in, each one eerier than the last. Some claimed to have seen the creature prowling near their homes, while others heard strange noises in the night. The atmosphere in Dover shifted, people felt uneasy in their own skin. Even the bravest souls hesitated to walk alone after dark, fearing the unknown. As the days turned into weeks, the sightings became less frequent, but the impact lingered. People felt a strange connection to the creature, as if it represented something deeper, an unexplained fear that resonated within their souls. They began to wonder if the creature was a reflection of their own anxieties and uncertainties. Was it a monster, or was it a mirror showing them their darkest fears? As the years passed, the legend of the Dover Demon never faded away. It became a part of the town's identity, a story passed down through generations. The initial encounters, while brief, left an indelible mark on the community. The fear and fascination surrounding the creature continued to draw visitors, eager to experience the mystery for themselves. The Dover Demon transformed into more than just a creature of the night. It became a symbol of the unknown, a reminder that there are things in this world we may never understand. The stories inspired art, literature, and even music, as people sought to capture the essence of the creature that had haunted their dreams. Years later, those who experienced the encounters spoke of them with a mix of nostalgia and fear. They recalled the chilling moments with vivid detail, their hearts racing as they retold the stories. For some, the memories were a source of pride. They had faced the unknown and lived to tell the tale. For others, the fear never fully dissipated. Even as adults, they looked over their shoulders when walking alone at night, the fear of the Dover Demon lurking in the shadows never far from their minds. In the end, the Dover Demon became a part of the fabric of Dover itself. The stories wove together the experiences of those who encountered it, creating a shared history that connected the community in ways they never imagined. As the legend grew, it bridged generations, linking the past with the present, reminding everyone that some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. The creature, whether real or imagined, became a symbol of the unknown that resides within all of us. It ignited a sense of wonder, curiosity, and fear, challenging people to confront their own beliefs about what lies beyond the veil of reality. The Dover demon, in its chilling brevity, served as a reminder that some things are better left to the imagination, forever lurking just beyond the edge of light. And in that haunting shadow, the legend lives on, echoing through the streets of Dover, where whispers of the creature continue to inspire awe and trepidation in the hearts of those who dare to remember. In the misty shadows of the Ozark Mountains, where the trees stand tall and the air is thick with mystery, a chilling tale whispers through the leaves. Locals speak in hushed tones about a creature that roams these woods, a creature that sends shivers down the spine and ignites fear in the hearts of those who dare to venture too close. Known as the Ozark Howler, this phantom beast has become a part of the region's folklore, its legend woven into the fabric of everyday life. The first sighting of the Ozark Howler dates back to the early settlers who inhabited the area. One evening, as a family gathered around their fire, they heard an eerie sound cutting through the night. It was a haunting howl, a cry that echoed like a lost soul calling for help. The sound was unlike anything they had ever heard before, part wolf, part scream, filled with a raw, primal energy. They looked at each other, fear etched on their faces. What could be lurking in the darkness? As the days turned into nights, more people reported similar experiences. Farmers spoke of their livestock going missing, found mutilated or vanished without a trace. Hunters claimed they saw something massive lurking in the underbrush, its eyes glowing like embers in the darkness. They described it as a creature larger than any bear they had encountered, with long, shaggy fur and sharp, menacing claws. Its form was shrouded in shadow, moving silently through the trees, leaving only whispers of its presence behind. The creature's howl became a symbol of dread, a sound that haunted the minds of those living in the Ozarks. It was said to possess the ability to mimic the cries of animals, luring unsuspecting prey closer before revealing its true nature. The locals began to share their stories, passing them down from generation to generation, creating a tapestry of fear and fascination that surrounded the Ozark Howler. Children would gather around campfires, eyes wide with wonder and fear as their parents recounted tales of encounters with the beast. The stories were filled with vivid imagery, how the howler would emerge from the shadows, its fur glistening under the pale moonlight, its breath fogging in the cool night air. Parents warned their children to never wander too far from home after sunset, for the howler prowled the woods, hungry and waiting. One night, a brave young boy named Tommy decided he wanted to see the Ozark Howler for himself. He had heard the stories, felt the thrill of the unknown, and wanted to prove his courage. Armed with nothing but a flashlight and a heart full of determination, he slipped out of his house, excitement coursing through his veins. The moon illuminated his path as he ventured deeper into the forest, his heart pounding with every step. As he walked, the familiar sounds of the night surrounded him, the rustling of leaves, the distant croak of frogs, the gentle whisper of the wind. But then, silence fell like a heavy blanket. The world around him became eerily quiet. He paused, the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. Tommy's breath quickened as he strained to hear anything that might break the stillness. That's when he heard it, a distant howl that made his heart race. It was a sound so primal, so haunting, it sent chills down his spine. Tommy stood frozen, the flashlight trembling in his grip. He turned slowly, scanning the darkness. And there, emerging from the shadows, he saw it, the Ozark Howler. Its eyes glowed like twin lanterns, reflecting the light of his flashlight. It was larger than he had imagined, with shaggy fur that seemed to ripple like a dark ocean wave. In that moment, time stood still. Tommy's heart raced, fear gripping him as the creature let out a chilling howl that echoed through the trees. His instincts kicked in, and he turned to run. The forest blurred around him as he sprinted, branches scratching at his skin and the howl of the creature ringing in his ears. He could feel the weight of its presence behind him, a phantom predator hunting in the night. Finally, he burst through the underbrush and into the safety of his backyard, collapsing on the ground, gasping for breath. The experience left an indelible mark on Tommy. He never spoke of his encounter, the memory too raw and haunting to share. But it transformed him, filling him with a deeper understanding of the fear that comes with the unknown. The Ozark Howler was no longer just a creature from the stories, it was a reminder of the darkness that lurks in the shadows, waiting for the brave and the foolish. As the years passed, the legend of the Ozark howler continued to thrive, becoming a part of the region's identity. Visitors to the Ozark Mountains would seek out stories about the creature, drawn in by the thrill of the unknown. Campfire tales grew more elaborate, intertwining truth with myth, creating a rich narrative that captivated both locals and newcomers alike. The Ozark howler became more than just a beast. It embodied the spirit of the mountains, wild, untamed, and full of mystery. It stirred emotions in those who heard its stories, evoking fear, fascination, and a sense of wonder about what lies beyond the veil of the familiar. People began to recognize that the howler was not just a predator, but also a guardian of the woods, a creature that thrived in the shadows, reminding them of the beauty and danger that coexist in nature. Today, the howl of the Ozark howler remains a part of the region's lore, echoing through the trees, inviting the brave to listen and the curious to seek. It is a reminder that some mysteries are meant to be embraced, for they spark the imagination and keep the spirit of adventure alive. The Ozark Mountains continue to stand tall, cradling the legend of the howler within their depths, a testament to the power of stories and the connections we forge with the unknown. And as long as the sun sets and the moon rises over the Ozarks, the haunting call of the howler will forever linger in the hearts of those who dare to remember. In the quiet town of Elkhorn, Wisconsin, where the night falls gently over the rolling hills, a shadow stirs in the darkness. It is a creature of nightmares, one that has haunted the dreams of locals for decades. Known as the Beast of Bray Road, this werewolf-like creature has sparked fear and fascination in equal measure. The stories of its sightings have woven themselves into the very fabric of the community, capturing the imagination of those who hear its chilling tale. It all began in the late 1980s when reports of a strange creature prowling Bray Road started to emerge. Residents described it as a hulking figure with matted fur, standing on two legs, and possessing the fierce demeanor of a predator. As whispers of the beast spread, the air thickened with tension. People were both terrified and curious about what lurked in the shadows. Was it a wild animal, or something far more sinister? One evening, a young woman named Kelly was driving home after visiting a friend. The road was quiet, illuminated only by the soft glow of her headlights. Suddenly, a figure darted across the road, catching her off guard. She slammed on the brakes, her heart racing. In the beam of her headlights, she saw it, a creature unlike anything she had ever encountered. It was tall and muscular, with long limbs and eyes that glowed with an otherworldly light. In that moment, fear gripped her heart. She felt the weight of its gaze upon her, a predator sizing up its prey. As the creature paused, Kelly caught a glimpse of its face, a blend of canine and human features. It stood there for what felt like an eternity, the air thick with tension. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, it vanished into the night, leaving her trembling in her car. The memory of that encounter haunted her for years. She couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, the sense that the beast was still lurking somewhere nearby. As news of Kelly's sighting spread, more people began to come forward with their own stories. Farmers reported missing livestock, their animals found mutilated in the fields. A couple driving home late one night spotted the beast standing beside their car, its eyes reflecting the light like two burning coals. Each encounter added a layer to the legend, a tapestry of fear woven with threads of uncertainty. People began to ask questions. What was this creature? Was it a werewolf? A figment of imagination? The Beast of Bray Road became a topic of conversation around town. Local newspapers picked up the story, drawing in curious visitors eager to catch a glimpse of the creature that had captured the community's imagination. Some claimed it was an unknown species, while others believed it was a supernatural being, an omen sent to warn the townsfolk of impending doom. No one knew for sure, but the mystery only deepened with each new sighting. For many, the beast was more than just a monster. It became a symbol of the wildness that still existed in the world, a reminder of the unknown lurking just beyond the safety of their homes. Children exchanged stories about the creature at school, weaving tales that would make even the bravest shudder. They imagined it prowling the woods, waiting for nightfall, hungry for its next encounter. One chilly autumn night, a group of friends decided to investigate the legends for themselves. Armed with flashlights and a sense of adventure, they drove down Bray Road, the trees casting long shadows across the pavement. Laughter filled the air, masking the underlying tension that accompanied their quest. As they ventured deeper into the night, the atmosphere shifted. The laughter faded, replaced by an uneasy silence that hung heavily around them. Suddenly, the headlights caught movement in the distance. Heart-pounding, one of the friends leaned closer to the window, straining to see through the darkness. There it was, a large shape lurking just beyond the tree line. They could see its eyes glinting like shards of glass, fixed on them with a predatory intensity. Fear gripped the group as they froze in disbelief. It was real. The stories were true. With a rush of adrenaline, they turned the car around and sped away, leaving the creature behind. The encounter left them shaken, their hearts racing as they shared terrified glances. Each friend would carry the weight of that night for years to come, an unspoken bond formed in the face of fear. As time went on, the beast continued to elude capture, becoming an elusive legend in its own right. Some claimed it had vanished, while others insisted it still roamed the woods, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to cross its path. The fear of the unknown gripped the town, and yet, there was an undeniable allure to the story of the Beast of Bray Road. In a world filled with the mundane, the legend of the beast reminded people of the magic that still existed in the shadows, the mysteries waiting to be uncovered. It was a tale that transcended time, drawing in the brave and the curious, inviting them to confront their fears. The Beast of Bray Road lives on in the hearts of those who have encountered it, a symbol of the wild spirit that thrives in the darkness. Its legend is a testament to the power of storytelling, the way tales can shape communities and forge connections. As long as the night falls over Elkhorn, the howl of the beast will echo through the woods, a reminder that some mysteries are meant to linger, haunting our dreams and igniting our imagination. And in that haunting, in the flickering shadows, lies the heart of a legend that will never fade away. On the shores of Lake Champlain, a sense of mystery lingers in the air. This beautiful lake, straddling the border of New York and Vermont, has been the setting for an enchanting legend that stirs the imagination and evokes a deep sense of wonder. Stories of a creature lurking beneath the surface have captured the hearts of locals and visitors alike. Known affectionately as Champ, this elusive monster is said to inhabit the waters, igniting tales of adventure, fear, and hope. For centuries, people have reported sightings of Champ, a long, serpent-like creature with a large, humped back. From fishermen casting their lines at dawn to families enjoying picnics by the lake, the whispers of Champ's presence echo through the valley. The stories have been passed down from generation to generation, each account more thrilling than the last. Those who have caught a glimpse of the creature tell of its majestic form gliding through the water, leaving ripples in its wake. One summer day, a young boy named Tommy went fishing with his grandfather. The sun shone brightly, illuminating the lake's calm surface. As they cast their lines, Tommy's eyes danced with excitement, but his mind was preoccupied with the tales he had heard. He had heard about Champ from his friends, stories that made his heart race. What if he could be the one to see the legendary creature? While waiting patiently for a bite, Tommy noticed something strange in the distance. His heart skipped a beat as he squinted toward the horizon. A large shape broke the surface, creating a disturbance in the water. His grandfather, sensing Tommy's sudden excitement, turned to see what had caught his grandson's attention. "What is it, Tommy?" he asked, his voice filled with curiosity. Tommy pointed, his voice barely a whisper. "There. Over there." Both stared intently, anticipation coursing through their veins. As the creature emerged further from the depths, the sunlight glinted off its slick skin. Tommy felt a mix of fear and awe, the kind that can only be ignited by the unknown. Was it Champ? The story suddenly came to life, the idea of a legendary creature within their reach. The creature twisted and turned, revealing a long neck and an unmistakable shape. It was both beautiful and terrifying, a living testament to the lore that had surrounded the lake for years. Tommy's heart raced as he realized he was witnessing something extraordinary. In that fleeting moment, he felt a deep connection to the history and mystery of Lake Champlain. But just as quickly as it had appeared, the creature slipped beneath the surface, leaving only ripples behind. The moment was gone, but the memory would remain forever etched in Tommy's mind. He turned to his grandfather, eyes wide with wonder. "Did you see it? Did you see Champ?" His grandfather smiled knowingly, his eyes twinkling with a mix of pride and nostalgia. "A lot of people say they've seen Champ, son. Whether it's real or not, it's the stories that matter. They keep our imagination alive." As Tommy grew older, the sighting became a cherished memory, a tale he would share with friends around campfires, the kind that ignites the spirit of adventure. The legend of Champ inspired countless searches, many brave souls hoping to uncover the truth behind the mysterious creature. Boats filled with eager explorers set out onto the shimmering waters, armed with cameras and dreams of encountering the lake's guardian. Yet, the elusive nature of Champ added to the enchantment. The more people searched, the more the stories seemed to grow. Some claimed to have seen Champ's head break the surface, while others spoke of a deep rumble echoing across the water, like the growl of a giant. Even skeptics found themselves drawn into the mystery, captivated by the possibility that something extraordinary lay beneath the calm surface. The stories took on a life of their own, becoming a vital part of the local culture. Festivals celebrating Champ emerged, where families gathered to share their encounters and honor the lake's most famous resident. Children dressed as the creature, crafting their own interpretations of what Champ might look like, while adults shared their own stories of wonder and disbelief. But the legend of Champ is not just about a creature lurking in the depths. It speaks to the human desire for connection, for understanding the unknown. For many, Champ embodies the spirit of adventure, the hope that there is still magic in the world, waiting to be discovered. It is a reminder that not everything can be explained, and sometimes, the most profound experiences come from embracing the mystery. As the sun sets over Lake Champlain, casting golden rays upon the water, the legend of Champ lives on. The gentle waves whisper tales of a creature that connects generations, reminding all who visit that life is filled with wonders just beneath the surface. Whether real or imagined, Champ holds a special place in the hearts of those who dare to believe in the magic of possibility. The legacy of the lake monster continues to inspire, drawing people together, igniting their imaginations, and reminding them that some mysteries are meant to be cherished, forever etched in the stories we share. In the tranquil waters of Okanagan Lake, nestled in the heart of British Columbia, a sense of mystery hangs in the air. The shimmering surface reflects the beauty of the surrounding mountains, but beneath lies a legend that has captured the imaginations of many, Agopogo, a creature often compared to Canada's own Loch Ness monster. The tales of this elusive beast have been shared for generations, sparking a sense of wonder that resonates with both locals and visitors alike. The legend of Agopogo dates back to the First Nations people who inhabited the area long before settlers arrived. They spoke of a water spirit, a creature that roamed the depths of the lake. Descriptions varied, but many depicted it as a long, serpentine being, gliding through the water with grace and power. These stories weren't just tales of folklore, they were warnings. The creature was said to be fierce, demanding respect and caution from those who dared to venture onto its waters. One summer afternoon, a young girl named Sarah sat by the lake with her grandfather. The sun hung high in the sky, casting a warm glow over the shimmering water. Sarah had heard the stories of Agopogo from her grandfather, tales that filled her heart with excitement and a touch of fear. As they fished together, she asked him, "Do you think Agopogo is real, Grandpa?" Her grandfather chuckled softly, his eyes twinkling. "Many believe, and some have even claimed to see it. But whether it's real or just a story, it brings us together." The idea of Agopogo keeps our imaginations alive. As they chatted, Sarah's gaze wandered across the lake. She imagined the creature swimming beneath the surface, its long body weaving through the dark waters. What if it was watching them right now? What if they could be the ones to see Agopogo? The thought sent shivers down her spine, but it was the kind of thrill that made her heart race. Suddenly, a ripple broke the surface, catching her attention. Her breath caught in her throat as she leaned forward, straining to see. "Look! What's that?" she exclaimed, pointing to the spot where the water stirred. Her grandfather turned, and for a moment, they both held their breath, their hearts pounding with anticipation. The ripple grew larger, and as they watched in disbelief, something long and dark rose from the depths. It moved with an elegance that seemed almost otherworldly. Sarah's excitement turned to awe as the creature appeared to breach the surface, its neck stretching high, revealing a head with large, curious eyes. "Agopogo," she shouted, her voice filled with wonder. The creature glanced at them for a brief moment, as if acknowledging their presence. Then, just as quickly as it had emerged, it vanished beneath the surface, leaving only a series of gentle ripples behind. Sarah's heart raced, and she turned to her grandfather, her eyes wide with amazement. "Did you see that? Did we really see Agopogo?" Her grandfather nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "Maybe we did, Sarah. Maybe we did." In that moment, the legend of Agopogo transformed from a mere story into a shared experience that would stay with them forever. Sarah felt a connection to the creature, a bond that went beyond the ordinary. It was as if Agopogo had chosen to reveal itself to them, weaving its magic into their lives. The encounter ignited a fire within Sarah, a desire to learn more about the creature and its home. She began reading books and researching everything she could find about Agopogo. She discovered stories from others who claimed to have seen the beast, each account filled with wonder and excitement. The more she learned, the more she realized that Agopogo wasn't just a creature of the lake, it was a symbol of hope, a reminder that magic exists in the world. As the years went by, Sarah often returned to Okanagan Lake, always searching for signs of Agopogo. Each visit was filled with anticipation, but the magic of that one summer day remained her most cherished memory. It became a part of her identity, a story she would share with friends and family, hoping to inspire the same sense of wonder in them. The legend of Agopogo continued to thrive, drawing countless visitors to the lake, each hoping to catch a glimpse of the creature. People from all walks of life would gather, sharing their experiences, swapping tales of their encounters, and celebrating the mystery that brought them together. The stories of Agopogo were not merely about a creature in the water, they were about the connections forged through shared experiences, the friendships built on curiosity and imagination. As Sarah grew older, she understood that legends like Agopogo hold a deeper meaning. They remind us of the importance of believing in the extraordinary, of cherishing the mysteries that surround us. Agopogo symbolizes the beauty of our world, the wonders that lie just beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered. In the stillness of Okanagan Lake, as the sun sets and the water glows with shades of orange and pink, the spirit of Agopogo endures. It whispers through the trees, dances across the surface, and echoes in the hearts of those who dare to believe. The legend remains a testament to the power of storytelling, the magic of imagination, and the enduring connections that bind us together. Sarah's childhood encounter with the creature may have been fleeting, but its impact resonates through the years, inspiring new generations to seek out the wonders that lie just beyond their reach. In the quiet stillness of the moonlit night, the waters of the Great Lakes shimmered like 1,000 stars. But beneath that surface, a legend stirred, a creature that haunted the dreams of many, known as Lau, the underwater panther. Its presence was felt long before it was seen, a shiver in the air that sent ripples of fear through those who dared to venture too close to the water's edge. Native American tribes spoke of Lau with reverence and fear. The stories painted a vivid picture of a powerful beast, both beautiful and terrifying, with the sleek form of a panther and the deadly grace of a predator. It was said that Lau was a guardian of the waters, a creature that watched over the lakes, striking fear into the hearts of those who would disrespect its domain. It was not just a creature of the water, it was a spirit of the wild, embodying the strength and mystery of nature itself. One summer, a young boy named Noden lived in a village by the lake. Noden was known for his adventurous spirit. He often wandered into the woods, eager to explore the world around him. His grandmother would warn him of Lau, telling tales of its fierce protection over the waters and the dangers that awaited those who disrespected the creature's home. "Respect the water, Noden," she would say, her voice serious. "Lau is powerful. It can bring storms and darkness if angered." But Noden was filled with youthful bravado, believing the tales to be mere stories meant to scare children. One day, he decided to challenge the legend. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue across the lake, he gathered a few friends and made his way to the water. With each step, the laughter and chatter of the group echoed into the woods, oblivious to the warnings that hung like a heavy mist in the air. As they reached the shore, Noden felt a chill run down his spine. The lake, usually so inviting, seemed to darken as shadows danced across the water. "Let's swim," he shouted, urging his friends to join him. They hesitated, the stories of Lao lingering in their minds, but the thrill of adventure overcame their fears. One by one, they jumped into the water, splashing and laughing, unaware of the danger lurking beneath. As they swam, Noden suddenly felt a strange sensation, a tingling in the water. The laughter faded, replaced by an eerie silence. The surface of the lake began to ripple, the once calm waters transforming into a swirling vortex. Panic surged through Noden as he swam back toward the shore, his heart racing. The air turned cold, and a dark shadow moved just beneath him. With a roar that echoed through the trees, Lao emerged from the depths, its sleek body glistening like obsidian under the moonlight. The creature's eyes shone with an intensity that pierced through the darkness, locking onto Noden with an unyielding gaze. In that moment, time seemed to freeze. Noden felt small and insignificant, like a leaf caught in a storm. The power of Lao was palpable, a force of nature that demanded respect and awe. Fear gripped Noden's heart, but beneath that fear was a strange sense of wonder. He had heard the tales, but seeing Lao in all its glory was beyond anything he could have imagined. The creature's presence was both terrifying and mesmerizing. It swam effortlessly, cutting through the water with a grace that made it seem otherworldly. Noden knew he had crossed a line, intruding on a sacred space that was never meant for him. The other children scrambled to the shore, their laughter replaced by screams of fear. Noden hesitated, torn between the instinct to flee and the urge to understand. Lao paused, its eyes never leaving Noden, as if gauging his intentions. In that moment, Noden felt a deep connection, a whisper of understanding that transcended words. This creature was not just a monster, it was a protector of the lake, a guardian of the stories that had been passed down for generations. As Noden finally reached the shore, he turned back, heart pounding, and looked into the eyes of Lao one last time. The creature lingered at the surface, its presence powerful yet strangely calm. In that gaze, Noden understood the balance of nature, the respect owed to the creatures that share this world. It was a lesson he would carry with him for the rest of his life. From that day forward, Noden never forgot the encounter. The story of Lao became a part of him, woven into the fabric of his identity. He shared the tale with others, not as a tale of fear, but as a testament to the importance of respecting nature. Lao became a symbol of the wild, a reminder of the delicate balance that exists between humanity and the creatures that inhabit the earth. Years later, as an elder in his village, Noden would recount the story of the underwater panther to the children. He spoke of the beauty and danger of Lao, instilling a sense of reverence in their hearts. Lao is powerful, he would say, but it is also a part of our world. We must honor it, just as we honor the earth and the water. As the sun set over the lake, casting golden rays across the water, Noden would watch the young ones, their eyes wide with wonder, just as he had once been. He knew that the stories would continue, that the legend of Lao would be passed down through the generations. And in each telling, the spirit of the underwater panther would live on, a powerful reminder of the connection between humanity and the wild, echoing through the ages like the gentle waves against the shore. In the tranquil waters of the Altamaha River, whispers of an ancient legend ripple through the air. The Altamaha, a creature cloaked in mystery, has captured the imaginations of those who live near its banks. This cryptid, often described as a long, serpent-like beast, has been a part of Georgia's folklore for generations. Its presence evokes both fear and fascination, stirring the hearts of those who dare to wonder what lies beneath the surface. On a warm summer evening, the river sparkled under the fading sun, casting a golden glow over the landscape. Children played along the banks, their laughter ringing out like music against the soft murmur of the flowing water. Among them was a young girl named Lila, who was known for her curious spirit and love for adventure. She would often venture to the river's edge, drawn by the stories her grandmother told her about the Altamaha. "Do you think it's real?" Lila would ask, her eyes wide with wonder. Her grandmother would smile softly, a mix of pride and caution in her voice. "Many have seen it, my dear, but few have truly understood it. The river holds many secrets." Lila felt a thrill run through her at the thought of encountering the mysterious creature. She imagined the Altamaha swimming gracefully beneath the surface, its powerful body gliding through the water. But with each story came a warning. "Respect the river," her grandmother would say, "for the Altamaha is a guardian of its waters." One late afternoon, driven by an insatiable curiosity, Lila set out on a small boat with her older brother, Jake. The river called to them, the gentle ripples beckoning them further into its depths. As they paddled away from the shore, the air grew thick with anticipation, and Lila's heart raced. "Let's see if we can find the Altamaha," she suggested, a mix of excitement and nervousness in her voice. Jake, more skeptical, rolled his eyes but followed his sister's lead, wanting to keep her company. As they ventured deeper into the river, the surroundings transformed. The lush trees that lined the banks stood tall and imposing, their branches weaving a protective canopy overhead. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting playful shadows on the water. It was beautiful, yet Lila felt a chill in the air, a sign that something was watching them. Suddenly, Jake pointed to a disturbance in the water. "Look," he shouted, and Lila's heart skipped a beat. Just below the surface, a dark shape twisted and turned, creating ripples that spread outward. It was massive, moving with a grace that both thrilled and terrified her. "Is that?" Lila started to ask, but the words got stuck in her throat. She felt a mix of hope and fear. Could it be the Altamaha? As they drew closer, the creature submerged, leaving only a few gentle ripples behind. Lila felt a pang of disappointment, but also a strange connection to the creature that had eluded them. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the sounds of the river wash over her. The soft rustling of leaves, the gentle lapping of water against the boat, it was all part of something greater, a world full of mysteries yet to be uncovered. The sun began to set, painting the sky in vibrant hues of orange and pink. Lila knew it was time to return home, but something deep within her urged her to stay just a little longer. She felt drawn to the spot where she had seen the dark shape, as if the river itself was inviting her to listen. Then, as if the river answered her call, a ripple spread across the water, and suddenly, the Altamaha emerged. Its long, sleek body glimmered in the fading light, and Lila's breath caught in her throat. The creature was magnificent, with smooth, shining scales that reflected the colors of the sunset. Its eyes, wise and ancient, locked onto hers, and in that moment, Lila felt an overwhelming sense of connection, a bond that transcended words. The Altamaha didn't seem threatening. Instead, it appeared almost curious, as if it understood the longing in Lila's heart. Time stood still as they stared at each other, an unspoken understanding passing between them. The river, once filled with stories and warnings, transformed into a sacred space where Lila felt safe and welcomed. Just as quickly as it had appeared, the Altamaha slipped back beneath the surface, leaving behind a wake that shimmered like stars. Lila sat in stunned silence, her heart pounding with the thrill of what she had witnessed. She realized that the legend of the Altamaha was more than just a tale of fear. It was a story of connection, of respect for the natural world that surrounded them. As they paddled back to shore, Lila and Jake didn't speak much. The air was filled with a sense of magic that felt too sacred for words. Lila knew she had experienced something extraordinary, something that would change her forever. The Altamaha wasn't just a monster of lore, it was a symbol of the mystery and beauty of the river, a reminder to honor the stories passed down through generations. Years later, as an adult, Lila returned to the Altamaha River. The memories of that summer evening flooded back, filling her heart with warmth. She brought her own children to the river's edge, sharing the stories her grandmother had told her. With each tale, she instilled in them a sense of wonder and respect for the world around them. "Remember," she would say, her voice filled with love and reverence, "the Altamaha is a guardian of the river. It watches over us, and we must watch over it too. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow over the water, Lila felt a comforting presence. The river, with its secrets and stories, remained a part of her, an everlasting connection to the past and a promise for the future. The Altamaha lived on in the hearts of those who believed, a testament to the magic that exists just beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered by those willing to listen. The sun glimmered over the Chesapeake Bay, painting the water in shades of gold and blue, but beneath the surface, something ancient stirred. For centuries, tales of Chessie, the legendary serpent of the bay, have woven through the fabric of local folklore, capturing the imaginations of those who live near its shores. On this beautiful summer day, a sense of magic hung in the air as stories of the elusive creature whispered through the winds. In a quaint town nestled along the bay, a young boy named Tommy sat on the wooden dock, his legs dangling over the edge. He had heard the stories of Chessie from his grandfather, who spoke of a long, sinuous creature that lurked in the depths of the water, a guardian of the bay's secrets. Tommy's heart raced with excitement and a hint of fear. Was there truly a creature watching him from the depths? "Tommy, are you going to fish or just stare at the water all day?" called out his friend, Lily, breaking him from his daydream. "I'm waiting for Chessie to come up," Tommy replied with a grin, his eyes sparkling with the thrill of possibility. Lily rolled her eyes, but she couldn't help but smile at her friend's enthusiasm. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow over the water. Stories of Chessie echoed in Tommy's mind. There were sightings from fishermen who claimed to have seen the creature glide silently beneath their boats, its long neck stretching out of the water. Others spoke of mysterious waves crashing against their shores with no explanation. Each story added to the lore, igniting a sense of wonder in those who heard them. As the day went on, Tommy and Lily decided to take a small boat out onto the bay. The gentle rocking of the boat under their feet felt comforting, like the embrace of the water itself. They paddled into the heart of the bay, laughter ringing out, mixing with the sounds of nature. "Do you really think we'll see Chessie?" Lily asked, her curiosity piqued as she looked out at the calm water. Tommy nodded, his heart pounding with anticipation. "I hope so. I want to see it just like my grandpa did." The boat glided further from the shore, and the world around them fell quiet, as if the bay itself was holding its breath. Clouds drifted lazily overhead, casting fleeting shadows on the water. Tommy felt a chill run down his spine, but it wasn't from the cold. It was the thrill of the unknown, the possibility that Chessie might rise from the depths. Suddenly, the water rippled, and both children leaned forward. "Did you see that?" Tommy whispered, his voice barely above a breath. "I did," Lily replied, her eyes wide with wonder. They strained their eyes, searching the water for any sign of the legendary creature. Minutes felt like hours as they waited, hope and excitement mingling in the air. Then, just as they were beginning to lose faith, a dark shape emerged from the depths. Tommy's heart raced as he caught a glimpse of a long neck, glistening in the sunlight. It rose above the water, its scales shimmering like jewels, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. "There it is! Chessie!" Tommy shouted, pointing at the majestic creature. Lily gasped, her hands covering her mouth in awe. The serpent-like figure swayed gracefully, its enormous eyes filled with wisdom and curiosity. It felt like a dream, a moment suspended in reality. Chessie's presence was awe-inspiring, a blend of beauty and mystery. For a few heart-stopping seconds, the creature lingered, acknowledging the two children who dared to believe in its existence. Tommy felt an overwhelming sense of connection, a bond that transcended time, reminding him of the stories passed down through generations. Then, with a swift motion, Chessie slipped back into the depths, leaving behind a gentle ripple that sparkled in the fading sunlight. Tommy and Lily sat in stunned silence, hearts pounding, their eyes wide with disbelief. "I can't believe we saw it!" Lily exclaimed, her voice trembling with excitement. "I know. It was real," Tommy replied, his smile stretching from ear to ear. The rest of the boat ride was filled with laughter and joy, but deep down, Tommy understood that witnessing Chessie was more than just a fleeting moment. It was a connection to the history of the bay. a reminder of the magic that thrived beneath the surface. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Tommy felt a warmth in his heart. He knew that he would carry this memory with him forever. The legend of Chessie would live on, not just in stories, but in the hearts of those who dared to believe. Years later, as Tommy grew up and became a storyteller in his own right, he often returned to the bay. He would sit on that same dock, sharing the tale of his encounter with Chessie, passing it down to the next generation. Children would gather around, their eyes shining with wonder, eager to hear the story of the serpent that guarded the bay. "Remember," he would say, "Chessie is more than just a monster, it's a part of our history. It teaches us to believe in the impossible and to respect the mysteries of the world around us." As he watched their faces light up with excitement, he felt a sense of pride and responsibility. The legend of Chessie would continue to thrive, inspiring curiosity and adventure in those who listened. The Chesapeake Bay held secrets, and with every story shared, those secrets danced just beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered once again. The moon hung high in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the quiet hills of Maryland. The soft rustle of leaves in the cool night breeze carried whispers of fear, tales of a creature that haunted the skies above. Stories passed down through generations spoke of the snallygaster, a fearsome beast with the body of a giant bird, razor-sharp claws, and a terrifying beak that could strike fear into the bravest of hearts. This was no ordinary legend, it was a part of the very fabric of life in the region, a creature that stirred both terror and fascination. In a small town nestled in the rolling hills, a young girl named Clara lay in bed, her heart racing as she listened to her father recount stories of the snallygaster. He spoke of the creature swooping down from the clouds, its wings casting shadows over the fields below, its haunting cry echoing through the night. The villagers believed the snallygaster was a guardian of the skies, protecting them from evil, but also a reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond their sight. "Daddy, do you really think it's real?" Clara asked, her voice trembling with both fear and excitement. Her father smiled softly, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Some say it is, sweetheart. It's important to respect the mysteries of the world. Not everything can be explained." As Clara drifted off to sleep, her dreams were filled with images of the snallygaster, its powerful wings soaring through the night, leaving trails of starlight in its wake. She felt a connection to the creature, a longing to understand the stories that surrounded it. The next day, the sun shone bright, casting away the shadows of the night. Clara's curiosity grew stronger, and she decided to visit the nearby woods, where many claimed to have seen the snallygaster. The woods were alive with sounds, the chirping of birds, the rustling of small animals, and the whisper of the wind. Each step deeper into the forest felt like a step into a world of wonder and mystery. "Maybe I'll find a clue," Clara thought, her heart pounding with excitement. As she wandered, she came across an old tree, its gnarled branches twisting toward the sky. Something glinted in the sunlight at its base. Clara knelt down, brushing away leaves to reveal a small, ancient-looking talisman. It was engraved with strange symbols that seemed to tell a story of their own. Clara felt a surge of energy, as if the talisman was connected to the snallygaster and its history. Holding the talisman close to her heart, Clara felt a sense of purpose. She would learn more about this creature, not just from stories, but from the world around her. The village held many tales of the snallygaster. It was said to have emerged from the depths of the earth, born from the fear and awe of those who gazed at the night sky. The legends told of the creature's strange origins, believed to be a mix of fearsome dragon and majestic bird. Farmers spoke of how it swooped down to snatch livestock, leaving chaos in its wake, while others whispered of its role as a protector, warning against those who would harm the land. The snallygaster was a reflection of the people's hopes and fears, embodying both danger and mystery. As days turned into weeks, Clara dedicated herself to uncovering the truth behind the snallygaster. She visited the town library, poring over dusty old books filled with stories of the creature. She learned of sightings from generations past, accounts from those who claimed to have seen it soaring through the sky, its wings like thunder. Each story fueled her imagination, connecting her more deeply to the legend that had captured her heart. One evening, Clara and her friends decided to host a campfire in the woods, determined to share their own tales of the snallygaster. As the flames flickered and crackled, casting dancing shadows around them, Clara stood up, her heart racing with the thrill of storytelling. "Listen closely," she began, her voice steady. "The snallygaster is not just a monster, it's a symbol of our fears and dreams. It teaches us that the unknown can be beautiful, and that courage often comes from understanding what we don't know." Her friends listened intently, their eyes wide with awe. The stories seemed to come alive around the fire, wrapping them in warmth and wonder. As Clara spoke, she felt a connection not only to her friends but to the spirit of the snallygaster itself, a reminder that the things we feared can also inspire us to be brave. As the night wore on and the stars twinkled overhead, Clara felt a sense of peace. The snallygaster was more than just a tale, it was a part of her community's identity, a creature that brought them together through stories and shared experiences. Then, just as the fire began to die down, a sound pierced the stillness of the night, a low, echoing cry that seemed to resonate through the trees. Clara's heart leaped into her throat. Could it be? The children exchanged glances, their eyes wide with excitement and fear. Clara could feel the energy in the air shift, an electric buzz that hinted at something magical. As the sound grew closer, she clutched the talisman in her hand, feeling its warmth spread through her fingers. Suddenly, from the shadows, a silhouette emerged. The shape was massive, with long wings and a powerful frame. Clara held her breath, her heart pounding as she stood frozen in place. Was this the snallygaster? The creature landed gracefully, its eyes shimmering like stars in the night sky. Clara felt a wave of awe wash over her. This was no monster, it was something extraordinary, a being that embodied both fear and wonder. As the creature stood before her, Clara realized that it wasn't here to harm them. It was a guardian of the night, a creature that reminded them of the beauty and mystery that surrounded their lives. The snallygaster was a symbol of connection, a reminder that fear can transform into understanding. With a gentle flap of its wings, the creature took to the skies once more, soaring high above the trees, leaving the children in a state of wonder. Clara watched as it vanished into the night, her heart swelling with emotion. The snallygaster had become more than a legend, it had woven itself into her life, showing her that there was magic in the unknown. The stories would live on, passed from one generation to the next, keeping the spirit of the snallygaster alive in the hearts of those who dared to believe. As the stars twinkled overhead, Clara knew that the world was full of wonders waiting to be discovered, and the snallygaster would forever remain a part of her story. On a quiet evening, when the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, a young boy named Alex stood in his backyard, gazing up at the vast expanse above. The soft rustle of leaves whispered secrets as the world around him began to settle into the calm of night. As the stars blinked awake, a feeling of wonder wrapped around him like a warm blanket. Little did he know, this night would forever change his understanding of what lay beyond the clouds. Tales of the Ropen, a creature said to resemble a pterosaur, had floated through his small town for generations. Some claimed it was a ghost of a long-extinct beast, while others swore they had seen it glide through the skies, its massive wings stretching wide against the backdrop of the stars. Alex had always listened with wide eyes as his grandfather recounted stories of the creature that could soar higher than any bird and had a wingspan that made even the mightiest eagle seem small. People say it has a haunting cry, like the wind howling through the mountains, his grandfather would say, his voice thick with nostalgia. Some believe it can see into your soul. As the night air grew cooler, Alex felt a strange pull in his heart. He closed his eyes and imagined what it would be like to see the Ropen, to witness its majesty as it soared through the night sky. What would it feel like to be so close to something so ancient and powerful? The thought sent a shiver down his spine, but it was mixed with excitement. With determination bubbling inside him, Alex grabbed his flashlight and set off toward the nearby hill, a place known for sightings of the mysterious creature. The tall grass brushed against his legs as he climbed, each step feeling like a leap into the unknown. The stories of the Ropen swirled in his mind, a blend of awe and curiosity. Reaching the top, Alex sat down, the cool earth beneath him grounding his racing thoughts. He turned off his flashlight and let the darkness envelop him. The world was quiet, but his heart was pounding as if it could sense something extraordinary was about to happen. As he gazed into the starry sky, a sense of peace washed over him. He imagined the ropen flying high above, its wings casting shadows over the land, a guardian of the night. For a moment, he felt as if he could hear the soft flapping of wings in the distance. It was just a trick of the mind, he told himself, but deep down, he hoped it was real. Suddenly, a shadow passed over the moon, large and unmistakable. Alex's breath caught in his throat. Heart racing, he jumped to his feet and squinted into the darkness. Could it be? Could the stories he had heard all his life finally be true? There it was, gliding gracefully through the sky, the silhouette of a creature that matched the descriptions he had heard. Its wings stretched wide, silhouetted against the moonlight, casting a giant shadow over the hill. Alex could hardly believe his eyes. The ropen, a living legend, was soaring right above him. He felt a rush of emotions, fear, excitement, wonder, all mixing together like a storm. The creature's wings flapped silently as it floated through the air, seemingly searching for something. As it drew closer, Alex could see its elongated shape and the outline of its beak. It was more magnificent than he had ever imagined, a reminder of the power of nature and the mysteries it held. The ropen let out a sound that echoed through the night, a haunting cry that sent chills down Alex's spine. It resonated with the stories his grandfather had told him. This was not just an animal, it felt like a bridge between worlds, connecting the past to the present. Tears filled Alex's eyes as he realized the significance of this moment. Here he was, witnessing a piece of history that many believed was lost to time. He felt small yet connected to something greater, a world that thrived beyond human understanding. In that instant, he understood the depth of his grandfather's stories, the magic they held, the lessons they imparted. The creature continued its flight, gliding effortlessly against the stars, as if it were dancing among them. Alex felt a warmth spread through him, a feeling that he was not alone. The ropen was a reminder that the world was filled with wonders waiting to be seen. As it soared higher, disappearing into the night, a mix of joy and longing welled up inside him. He knew this moment would stay with him forever, a memory etched in his heart. The stories would continue, passed down to the next generation, and Alex would be the one to tell them, just like his grandfather before him. With a heart full of hope and wonder, Alex made his way back down the hill. The night air felt different now, charged with possibility. He understood that legends like the ropen were not just tales to scare or entertain, they were part of the human experience, weaving together dreams, fears, and the longing for connection with the unknown. As he walked, the stars twinkled above him, each one a reminder that there was more to the world than what met the eye. The ropen had shown him that some mysteries were meant to be embraced, not feared. From that day forward, whenever Alex looked up at the night sky, he felt a sense of belonging. The ropen had become more than just a creature of legend. It was a symbol of hope, a guardian of dreams, and a reminder that the stories we share shape our understanding of the world. As he lay in bed that night, the whispers of the wind and the soft glow of the moon wrapped around him like a warm embrace. Alex smiled, knowing that the spirit of the ropen would always be with him, guiding him through life's mysteries, reminding him to chase the wonders that lay just beyond the horizon. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink as the sun began to set over the quiet town of Sagebrush Valley. In the midst of this tranquil scene, a woman named Clara stood outside her home, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and fear. She had lived in this small town for most of her life, surrounded by the stories of her ancestors and their encounters with the mysterious thunderbirds, giant birds said to soar high above the mountains. Tonight, however, she felt an inexplicable pull, as if the legends were coming alive. Clara's grandmother often spoke of the thunderbirds in hushed tones, recounting how they were revered as powerful beings that could summon storms and control the winds. "They are the protectors of the skies," her grandmother would say, her eyes shimmering with a mixture of awe and reverence. "When they spread their wings, it is said that the whole world shakes." Clara had always imagined these mighty creatures soaring majestically above the clouds, their wings casting shadows over the land below. But the tales had faded over the years, buried under the weight of modern life. As Clara stood on her porch, a sudden chill swept through the air, raising goosebumps on her arms. The atmosphere shifted, and she felt an electric charge, like the calm before a storm. She glanced up at the sky, her heart pounding. That's when she saw it, a shadow moving swiftly across the clouds, larger than any bird she had ever seen. The shape became clearer, and her breath caught in her throat. It was a massive bird, its wings spread wide, gliding effortlessly through the air. Clara could hardly believe her eyes. Could this be a thunderbird, come to life after all these years? She felt a surge of emotion, a blend of fear and excitement that sent a shiver down her spine. She grabbed her phone, hoping to capture this moment forever, but her hands trembled with anticipation. As the creature drew closer, Clara could see the details of its feathers, dark and majestic, glistening in the fading sunlight. It was unlike anything she had seen before, a living embodiment of the legends she had cherished since childhood. The thunderbirds were not just figments of imagination, they were real, soaring above her, a testament to the stories that had been passed down through generations. Clara felt a deep connection to her ancestors in that moment. She remembered the tales of bravery and resilience, how the thunderbirds had protected her people during storms and hardship. With each flap of its wings, the bird seemed to carry the weight of those stories, a reminder that history was alive, woven into the fabric of the present. Suddenly, the air crackled with energy, and Clara could hear a low rumble, like thunder rolling across the mountains. The thunderbird tilted its wings and began to descend, its enormous shadow sweeping across the valley below. Clara stood frozen, her heart racing, caught between the beauty of the moment and the instinct to flee. But there was something about the creature that felt comforting, as if it had come to watch over her. As the thunderbird landed on a nearby hill, Clara took a cautious step forward, unable to tear her eyes away from the magnificent creature. Its eyes, deep and wise, seemed to look right through her, as if recognizing the strength of her spirit. In that instant, she felt a rush of emotions, hope, fear, and an overwhelming sense of wonder. This was a connection to something ancient and powerful, a bond that transcended time. Gathering her courage, Clara moved closer, drawn by an invisible force. The ground beneath her feet vibrated softly as she approached the hill. She could see the details of the bird's feathers, the way they shimmered in the light, each one telling a story of resilience and strength. The thunderbird stood tall, its presence commanding yet peaceful, as if it were a guardian of the land. Suddenly, it let out a call that echoed across the valley, a sound that resonated deep within her soul. Clara felt tears prick at her eyes, overwhelmed by the raw beauty of the moment. This was not just a bird, it was a spirit, a symbol of hope and protection. The stories her grandmother had told her were alive, and she was part of them. In that fleeting moment, Clara understood the significance of the thunderbird. It was a reminder that the past and present were intertwined, that the legends of old still held power in today's world. The thunderbirds were not just creatures of lore, they were messengers, calling out to those who would listen, urging them to remember their roots and honor the stories that shaped their lives. As the thunderbird took off into the sky once more, Clara felt a sense of loss, yet also a profound sense of gratitude. She had witnessed something extraordinary, a piece of history that would forever change her perspective. She knew she would share this experience with her family, ensuring that the tales of the thunderbirds would continue to resonate through the generations. With her heart full, Clara returned to her home, the glow of the sunset fading behind her. She knew that the thunderbirds would always be a part of her life, guiding her through storms and reminding her of her strength. As she lay in bed that night, she gazed out at the stars, feeling a connection to the sky that she had never felt before. The stories of the thunderbirds would live on, not just in her memory, but in the hearts of all who dared to dream. Clara smiled, knowing that she was a part of something greater than herself, a living testament to the power of legend and the magic of the world around her. The thunderbirds were real, and their spirit would forever soar within her. The thick, swirling mist hung low over the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest, creating an eerie atmosphere that made the night feel alive. The towering trees swayed gently in the wind, their shadows dancing on the forest floor, casting an unsettling gloom. It was on one such night that a group of campers gathered around a crackling fire, sharing stories of the strange and the unexplained. They laughed nervously, their voices trembling slightly as they spoke of the cryptids that haunted these woods. Among the tales, one name sent shivers down their spines: Batsquatch. The legend of Batsquatch was born in the early 1990s, and it was a story that no one wanted to hear alone. Eyewitness accounts described a terrifying creature, part bat, part ape, soaring through the night sky with massive wings and a fearsome presence. Those who claimed to have encountered Batsquatch spoke of its glowing eyes, sharp claws, and a howl that echoed like thunder in the darkness. The campers leaned closer to the fire, their faces illuminated by the flames, as one of them recounted a chilling encounter that would haunt them forever. Jake, a seasoned camper, began to speak, his voice low and intense. "I was out hiking in the mountains a few years ago, well past dusk. I had planned to camp at a secluded spot I found on my last trip. The sun had set, and the forest was quiet, too quiet. As I set up my tent, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I dismissed it at first, thinking it was just my imagination. But then I heard it, the unmistakable sound of flapping wings." The campers exchanged nervous glances, the fire crackling between them, and they felt the chill of the night seep into their bones. Jake continued, his voice steady but filled with fear. "At first, I thought it was just a big owl or maybe a hawk. But as I looked up, I saw it, a massive figure soaring overhead. It was bigger than any bird I had ever seen. Its wings stretched wide, and the creature swooped down, gliding silently just above the treetops. I could see its features, a face that was part primate, part bat, with these eyes glowing like hot coals." A gasp echoed among the campers, and Clara, the youngest of the group, clutched her friend's arm tightly. "What happened next?" she whispered, her voice barely audible above the crackling fire. Jake took a deep breath, trying to steady his racing heart. "I froze, unable to move as it circled above me. I could feel the fear rising in my chest, but my instincts kicked in, and I knew I had to get out of there. I grabbed my backpack and ran, the sound of its wings thundering in my ears. It chased me, flying low and fast, and I could feel the wind from its wings pushing against me. I didn't stop until I reached my car." Silence fell over the group as they processed Jake's words, the reality of his encounter sinking in. The forest felt darker, more menacing, as if Batsquatch were lurking just beyond the firelight, watching and waiting. "What does it want?" Clara asked, her voice shaking with fear. "No one really knows," Jake replied, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting to see the creature. "Some say it's a guardian of the forest, while others believe it's a vengeful spirit. There are rumors that it's angry because people have invaded its territory." The campers sat in silence, the crackling fire the only sound in the night. Each of them imagined the fear that Jake had felt, the adrenaline coursing through his veins as he ran for his life. They could almost hear the roar of Batsquatch's wings echoing in their minds, the creature's dark silhouette haunting their thoughts. Suddenly, the wind picked up, rustling the leaves and sending a shiver down their spines. Clara's heart raced as she felt the atmosphere change, the weight of the night pressing down on them. "Do you think it could be out there right now?" she asked, her eyes wide with fear. Jake nodded slowly, the seriousness of the situation settling over him. "It's always a possibility. Batsquatch is said to be most active during the night, especially when the moon is full. We might just be lucky it hasn't found us yet." With every rustle of the leaves and distant howl of the wind, the campers felt more and more uneasy. They huddled closer to the fire, each of them lost in their own thoughts, minds racing with images of the winged ape. What would happen if they encountered Batsquatch? Would they be able to escape like Jake had? As the fire burned low, casting long shadows across the ground, Clara stood up suddenly. "I need to go to the bathroom," she announced, trying to sound brave. The group exchanged uneasy glances, the forest looming ominously around them. "Do you want me to come with you?" one of her friends offered, but Clara shook her head, determined to face her fear. "I'll be quick." "I'll be right back," she said, her voice steady even though her heart raced. With a flashlight in hand, she stepped into the darkness, the beam of light cutting through the thick mist. The sounds of the forest surrounded her, each crack and rustle magnifying her anxiety. She hurried away from the camp, her mind replaying Jake's encounter, and she couldn't shake the feeling that Batsquatch was lurking somewhere nearby, watching her every move. As Clara made her way back to the campsite, she heard it, a faint flapping sound echoing through the trees. Panic surged through her, and she quickened her pace, her heart pounding in her chest. The shadows danced around her, twisting and turning, and suddenly, she saw it, a dark shape soaring above her, illuminated briefly by the moonlight. It was massive, its wings spanning wide as it glided through the air. A scream caught in her throat as the creature swooped lower, and she ran, adrenaline propelling her forward. The campsite came into view, the flickering firelight promising safety. She burst through the trees, gasping for breath, her friends turning to her with wide eyes. "What happened? Are you okay?" they asked, concern etched on their faces. Clara could barely speak, her mind racing with fear. "I saw it. I saw Batsquatch," she exclaimed, trembling. The campers huddled closer together, the fears they had brushed off earlier now palpable in the air. They could feel it, the truth behind the legend, the reality of Batsquatch that was no longer just a story. As the night wore on, the campers decided to pack up early, the weight of fear hanging heavy in the air. They shared glances filled with uncertainty, knowing they would never forget this night. Batsquatch had haunted their dreams, weaving its way into their hearts and minds, a living testament to the mysteries of the wild. The legend would carry on, their encounter a new thread in the fabric of stories shared around campfires for years to come. On a moonlit night, when the shadows stretch long and the wind whispers through the trees, the tale of the Headless Horseman comes to life. As darkness settles over sleepy towns and fields, hearts race at the thought of a ghostly rider galloping through the mist. The story begins long ago, rooted in the soil of American folklore, capturing the imagination of those who dare to listen. The Headless Horseman, a figure cloaked in mystery and terror, first emerged from Washington Irving's classic tale, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. This haunting story takes place in a small village nestled in the shadow of the Tarrytown Hills, where the gentle sounds of nature can suddenly shift into something eerie. The villagers tell tales of a Hessian soldier, a man who fought bravely but met a gruesome end during the Revolutionary War. His head, severed from his body, was lost on the battlefield, and in death, he became a restless spirit, doomed to ride the night in search of his lost head. As children grow up hearing the story of Ichabod Crane, the timid schoolteacher who encounters the Headless Horseman, they are both enchanted and terrified. The image of Ichabod fleeing through the dark woods, heart-pounding, pursued by the furious ghost on horseback, sends chills down their spines. They can almost hear the thundering hooves echoing in the stillness, feel the chill of the night air, and see the horseman's glowing pumpkin head, which he often uses as a weapon against those he hunts. The legend of the Headless Horseman is more than just a ghost story. It speaks to our deepest fears and our yearning for connection. In a world filled with uncertainties, the idea of a spirit searching for something lost resonates deeply with those who feel lost themselves. The horseman's search for his head becomes a powerful metaphor for our own quests for identity and purpose, illuminating the struggles we all face in life. Over the years, the tale has transformed and adapted, appearing in countless retellings across various mediums. From animated films to theatrical performances, the Headless Horseman has galloped into the hearts of audiences everywhere. Each adaptation adds layers to the legend, shaping the horseman into a complex character that can evoke sympathy alongside fear. Some portray him as a vengeful spirit, while others suggest a tragic figure, cursed to wander eternally. As the story spreads, it also finds its way into local Halloween traditions. Children dress as the Headless Horseman, donning capes and masks, excitedly telling tales of their own encounters with the ghostly rider. Haunted hayrides and spooky walks through dark woods create a backdrop for these tales, where whispers of the horseman add an element of thrill to the cool autumn air. As they gather around bonfires, families recount their own experiences, blurring the lines between myth and reality. In these moments, fear mingles with laughter, as the horseman becomes a figure of both dread and delight. In the small towns where the legend took root, Halloween is more than just a holiday, it's a time for community. Neighbors share ghost stories, and children race from house to house, their laughter ringing through the streets. But when the sun sets and the shadows grow longer, the headless horseman reminds them of the darker side of life, the part that's steeped in loss and longing. The stories serve as a cautionary reminder that not everything is as it seems, that darkness lurks just beneath the surface. One particularly chilling account comes from a small town in New York, where an elderly man recalled a night in his youth when he claimed to have seen the horseman. He spoke of a crisp fall evening when he and his friends ventured into the woods, armed only with flashlights and youthful bravado. The moon hung high, casting an ethereal glow over the trees. As they played, laughter echoed through the air until, suddenly, silence fell like a heavy blanket. He recounted how they heard the distant sound of hooves, the rhythm echoing off the trees, and the laughter faded, replaced by an overwhelming sense of dread. The friends huddled close, their flashlights flickering as the hooves grew louder. Then, out of the darkness, a figure emerged, tall and cloaked in shadow. Panic surged, and they ran, hearts racing, glancing back to see the headless horseman riding fiercely, his cape billowing behind him. That night became a memory etched in their minds forever, a reminder of the fear that lurks in the corners of our imagination. The Headless Horseman's legend serves a purpose beyond entertainment. It connects generations, bridging the gap between the past and the present. Grandparents share tales with their grandchildren, sparking imaginations and instilling values about bravery and the unknown. These stories become a ritual, passed down through the years, ensuring that the legacy of the Headless Horseman endures. In the quiet moments, when the world slows down and the wind carries a chill, people often reflect on their own fears. The horseman embodies the parts of ourselves that we try to ignore, our insecurities, our loss, and our longing for understanding. As the story unfolds, it speaks to the universal human experience, reminding us that even in our darkest hours, we are not alone. The horseman rides not just through the night, but through the hearts of those who dare to confront their own fears. As the story continues to evolve, the Headless Horseman remains a powerful symbol of American folklore, representing the intersection of fear, nostalgia, and the search for meaning. The tales surrounding him are woven into the fabric of cultural celebrations, inspiring creativity and igniting curiosity. Each Halloween, as children dress up and adults share stories, the spirit of the horseman lives on, a testament to the enduring power of legend and the connection it fosters between generations. Underneath the moonlit sky, with the wind whispering through the trees, the Headless Horseman gallops on, forever searching, forever haunting, and forever captivating the hearts and minds of those willing to listen. In the dim light of the forest, where the trees loom tall and shadows dance like whispers, a chilling legend comes to life, the tale of the melon heads. These small, deformed humanoids, with their oversized heads and eerie appearances, have haunted the Midwest for generations. As night falls, stories of their strange existence ripple through communities, sending shivers down the spines of those who dare to listen. It is said that the melon heads were once ordinary children, living in quiet towns. Some stories claim they were the result of a cruel experiment, while others suggest they were born with deformities that made them outcasts. As the world outside their forest home grew more unkind, these children retreated into the woods, where they became something entirely different. The isolation twisted their forms and minds, transforming them into creatures that evoke both fear and sympathy. Imagine wandering through a quiet forest, the sounds of nature surrounding you, when suddenly you hear a rustling in the bushes. Your heart races as you peer into the darkness, wondering if the stories of the melon heads are true. With each step, you feel the weight of countless tales echoing around you, filling the air with a sense of dread. The legends speak of their haunting cries, a mix of laughter and sorrow that floats through the trees, creating an atmosphere thick with unease. Reports of sightings have emerged from various states, especially Michigan and Ohio, where locals speak of encounters that chill the bones. Those brave enough to venture into the woods describe seeing shadows darting between the trees, glimpses of small figures with disproportionately large heads and haunting eyes. Some say they have heard whispers carried by the wind, calling out to them in soft, pleading voices. The stories are both terrifying and heart-wrenching, leaving a lasting impression on those who hear them. In one particularly spine-tingling account, a group of friends decided to test their courage on a moonlit night. Armed with nothing but flashlights, they ventured into the heart of the forest, their laughter echoing off the trees. As they walked deeper, the mood shifted. The air turned colder, and an unsettling silence enveloped them. Suddenly, they heard a soft rustling nearby, followed by an eerie giggle that sent a chill down their spines. With hearts pounding, they turned their flashlights toward the sound. What they saw will forever be etched in their minds: a small figure, no taller than a child, standing just out of reach. Its head was enormous, misshapen, and its eyes glinted with an unsettling light. The friends froze, caught between fear and curiosity. The creature tilted its head, as if trying to understand them, and then it vanished into the shadows, leaving them breathless and shaken. This encounter only adds to the mysteries surrounding the melon heads. Are they dangerous, or are they simply lost souls, misunderstood and alone? Some believe the creatures are protectors of the forest, watching over the woods where they were forced to hide. Others view them as a threat, warning others to stay away from their territory. The duality of fear and empathy is woven into the fabric of these tales, creating a haunting narrative that lingers long after the stories are told. As the years pass, the legend of the melon heads continues to evolve, becoming a symbol of our deepest fears and our need for connection. They serve as a reminder of the consequences of bullying and exclusion, a reflection of those who are cast aside by society. The stories resonate with anyone who has ever felt out of place or ostracized. In their eerie existence, there is a profound sadness that evokes compassion, prompting us to consider the darkness that lies within our own hearts. Local folklore has transformed the melon heads into figures of Halloween lore, drawing curious thrill seekers and ghost hunters to the very woods where they supposedly roam. Haunted attractions and ghost tours feature tales of these creatures, their unsettling nature captivating audiences and drawing people into the woods, where they hope to catch a glimpse of the elusive figures that have haunted the imaginations of so many. As night falls and the air thickens with anticipation, the forest becomes alive with stories, each one intertwining with the next, creating a tapestry of fear and intrigue. However, beneath the surface of the terrifying tales lies a powerful message. The melon heads remind us of the importance of kindness and understanding, urging us to look beyond appearances. They prompt us to confront our fears and prejudices, encouraging compassion for those who are different. In a world that often shuns those who do not fit the mold, the melon heads stand as a poignant reminder of our shared humanity. As you walk through the woods at night, keep an eye on the shadows. The air may grow heavy with whispers, and you might catch a glimpse of something moving just beyond the trees. The legend of the melon heads is a story that transcends fear, pulling at the heartstrings and reminding us of the fragility of acceptance. Their haunting presence stirs our emotions, urging us to confront the darkness both outside and within. In the end, the melon heads are not just creepy creatures lurking in the forest, they represent the deeper struggles we face as individuals and as a society. They evoke fear and empathy in equal measure, leaving us to ponder our own stories of isolation and longing. As the stories continue to be shared around campfires and whispered among friends, the legend of the melon heads lives on, a powerful reminder of the thin line between fear and understanding. In the quiet corners of the Gullah culture, where stories intertwine with the sea breeze and the whispering pines, there exists a legend that sends shivers down the spine, the tale of the Boo Hag. This terrifying figure, a witch who preys on the innocent during the dark hours of the night, embodies both fear and a deep-rooted sense of caution. The Boo Hag is said to ride its victims while they sleep, leaving them restless and terrified. The legend begins with the eerie sounds of the night, where shadows flicker and the moon casts a ghostly glow over the landscape. As the clock strikes midnight, the air grows heavy with tension, and an unsettling silence blankets the world. It is during this time that the Boo Hag awakens, a creature born of darkness and fueled by malice. She appears as a woman, but her true form is that of a grotesque being, a shapeshifter capable of slipping through cracks and crevices, entering homes undetected. Imagine lying in bed, the night still and quiet, when suddenly you feel an inexplicable heaviness settle upon your chest. You try to move, but it feels as though something is pinning you down. A chill runs down your spine, and your heart races as the room grows darker, shadows creeping in closer. In that moment, you know that the boo hag is near, ready to ride you into the depths of your worst nightmares. Those who have encountered her describe the experience as both horrifying and paralyzing. The boo hag is said to suck the breath from her victims, leaving them gasping and struggling to wake. Some report feeling a cold presence hovering above them, a weight that makes it impossible to escape the grip of fear. With each passing second, the dread intensifies, as if time stands still and all hope fades. The tales of those who have survived recount the same chilling details: the sensation of being watched, the struggle to breathe, and the overwhelming sense of despair. But the boo hag is more than just a malevolent spirit. She is a representation of the fears that linger in the shadows of our minds. Her story carries with it lessons about vulnerability and the need to protect oneself from harm. In Gullah culture, she serves as a warning, urging people to be cautious and aware of their surroundings. The tales often emphasize the importance of safeguarding one's home, reminding listeners to lock their doors and be wary of those who may harbor ill intentions. Parents tell their children these stories not only to scare them, but to instill a sense of awareness. They remind their kids to be careful who they trust, to watch for signs of trouble, and to stand up for themselves. The legend of the boo hag reinforces the idea that darkness is not just a physical absence of light. It can manifest in people too, lurking beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to strike. In a particularly haunting account, a woman recounted her experience with the boo hag that left her shaken to her core. She described waking up in the middle of the night, feeling an oppressive force on her chest. Unable to move or call for help, she struggled against the invisible weight, tears streaming down her face as fear consumed her. As the darkness closed in, she felt the presence of the boo hag, the air growing thick with dread. Just as she thought all was lost, a sudden burst of energy surged through her. She screamed, breaking free from the nightmare. When she finally caught her breath, she looked around her room, terrified yet relieved to be safe, if only for the moment. Such stories are not uncommon in the Gullah community, where the legend of the boo hag has been passed down through generations. The chilling nature of her tale fosters a deep sense of community, as people come together to share their experiences and fears. They gather around bonfires, exchanging whispers of the boo hag, the flickering flames casting dancing shadows that mimic the very creature they dread. In these moments, laughter intertwines with fear, as they bond over shared experiences, creating a tapestry of resilience against the darkness. The boo hag also serves as a reminder of the cultural significance of storytelling. Each recounting of her tale carries the weight of history, connecting generations and reinforcing cultural identity. The stories resonate not just as frightening legends, but as important lessons about vigilance and respect. They instill values that protect both the individual and the community. As the night stretches on and the world outside remains shrouded in darkness, the boo hag continues to haunt the dreams of many. The stories live on, echoing through time, reminding us of our fears and the importance of looking out for one another. In the shadows, the boo hag remains a powerful figure, a manifestation of our anxieties and our courage to confront them. Each encounter serves as a testament to the strength found within the community, the power of shared stories, and the resilience that lies in the human spirit. In the end, the legend of the boo hag is not just a tale of terror, it is a reflection of our deepest fears and the courage to face them. As we gather to share these stories, we find comfort in knowing we are not alone in our struggles. The boo hag may ride through the night, but so too does the strength of those who stand together, armed with knowledge and the power of their voices. In the heart of Louisiana, where the swamps stretch endlessly and the moon hangs low, there lurks a creature that sends chills through the spine, the rougarou. This terrifying beast, with its wolf-like form and haunting howl, has haunted the dreams of many generations. The stories of the rougarou have become woven into the very fabric of Cajun folklore, a chilling reminder of the unknown lurking in the shadows. As darkness falls over the bayou, the air thickens with tension. The rustling of leaves and the distant croak of frogs become a symphony of unease. It is said that the rougarou roams these wetlands, prowling silently among the cypress trees and murky waters. Those who have encountered it describe a creature both magnificent and terrifying, with glowing eyes that pierce the darkness and a presence that can only be felt just before it strikes. Imagine wandering through the swamp at night, the moonlight casting eerie shadows on the ground. The air is heavy with humidity, and the night is alive with the sounds of nature. Suddenly, a deep growl echoes through the trees, reverberating in your chest. Your heart races as you realize you are not alone. The rougarou is near, and you can feel its eyes on you, watching, waiting. The stories of the rougarou often center around its transformation, a person cursed for their wrongdoing, morphing into this fearsome creature. In Cajun tradition, the rougarou is a warning, a tale passed down to instill fear and encourage good behavior. Parents tell their children to stay close to home, lest the rougarou come for them. They use the legend to teach lessons about respect and morality, instilling caution in the hearts of the young. In one chilling account, a young boy ventured too far into the bayou, ignoring the warnings of his elders. As night fell, he felt the weight of the darkness closing in around him. The air grew colder, and he heard the unmistakable sound of something moving behind him. Panic surged as he turned to run, but the growl of the rougarou echoed in his ears, paralyzing him with fear. The creature emerged from the shadows, eyes glimmering like two burning coals. Just as he thought he would be lost forever, he remembered the stories his grandmother told him. He found the courage to call out for help, and in that moment, the rougarou vanished, leaving only the lingering sense of dread in the air. The rougarou is often associated with the cycle of the moon, appearing most frequently on nights when it is full. As the bright light bathes the swamps, the creature feels empowered, prowling with a fierceness that echoes through the land. The townsfolk have come to regard these nights with caution, locking their doors and keeping their loved ones close. Even the bravest among them can't shake the feeling of being watched, the lurking presence of the rougarou looming just outside their homes. As tales of the rougarou spread, they become a source of connection within the community. Friends gather around bonfires, sharing stories of encounters and warning one another to remain vigilant. Laughter mingles with fear as they recount the chilling details of their experiences, creating bonds that only shared terror can forge. The rougarou becomes a symbol of both fear and resilience, a reminder that in the face of darkness, the community stands strong together. In another poignant story, a young woman named Marie, who had always dismissed the tales of the rougarou, found herself confronted with the legend one fateful night. She had been out late with friends, laughing and enjoying the night. But as she made her way home, the laughter faded, and a heavy silence surrounded her. The moon illuminated the path ahead, but shadows danced along the edges, twisting and turning in the darkness. Suddenly, she heard the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps behind her. Panic washed over her as she quickened her pace, feeling the presence of the creature closing in. Just as she thought all was lost, she recalled the stories of her grandmother. She stopped, turned around, and yelled defiantly into the night. To her astonishment, the growl faded into the distance, and she felt an overwhelming sense of relief. The legend of the rougarou serves as both a warning and a source of strength for the community. It embodies the fears that lie in the hearts of the people and their desire to protect one another. The rougarou becomes a metaphor for the struggles they face, the darkness that threatens to engulf them and the light that comes from standing together in unity. Even as the tales of the rougarou continue to frighten, they also teach resilience and courage. They remind everyone that, though darkness may lurk nearby, there is always a way to confront it. In Louisiana, where the swamps hold secrets and the night is filled with whispers, the legend of the rougarou endures. It lives on in the stories told by the fire, in the hearts of those who believe, and in the shadows that dance beneath the cypress trees. The rougarou may embody fear, but it also represents the strength found in community, the bonds forged in shared stories, and the courage to face the unknown. On the windswept shores of Pawleys Island, South Carolina, where the sea meets the sand, a legend lingers in the salty air. As storms gather on the horizon, locals whisper about a ghostly figure known as the Gray Man. This mysterious spirit has a unique role, appearing before hurricanes to warn those who may be in danger. His presence evokes both fear and comfort, a reminder of nature's power and the importance of heeding its signs. The Gray Man is often described as a tall, shadowy figure dressed in gray, with a somber expression that seems to carry the weight of the world. Witnesses say he appears near the dunes or along the beach, his form barely visible against the darkening sky. When he materializes, it is said that a hush falls over the island, as if the very air holds its breath, waiting for what is to come. One stormy evening, as clouds rolled in and the winds began to howl, a young woman named Lily found herself alone in her family's beach house. The memories of summers spent on the island flooded her mind, the laughter of friends echoing in her heart. But that evening was different. A sense of unease settled over her as she gazed out at the churning sea. The sky darkened, and the waves crashed violently against the shore. As the storm approached, Lily felt an urge to step outside. The air crackled with electricity, and the world around her seemed to pulse with energy. That's when she saw him, the gray man standing on the beach, his figure shrouded in mist. Fear gripped her heart, but something about his presence felt oddly reassuring. It was as if he had come to warn her, to help her understand the seriousness of the approaching storm. With each step she took closer to him, the wind howled louder, but the gray man remained still. His eyes held a sorrowful wisdom, as if he understood the dangers that lurk beyond the waves. "Go home," he seemed to say without words. "Get to safety." In that moment, a sense of urgency overwhelmed her. Lily turned on her heel and sprinted back to the house, her heart racing as the first drops of rain began to fall. She knew that the gray man had come to protect her, just as he had for so many before. Legends of his warning spread through the island like wildfire, shared among neighbors and families, passed down through generations. Those who saw him often spoke of how their lives were changed after the encounter, a deep gratitude blooming in their hearts. Many residents recounted stories of their own experiences with the gray man, tales that sent chills down spines and ignited sparks of hope. An elderly man named Thomas recalled the storm of 1954, when Hurricane Hazel threatened to tear through the island. He was just a boy, playing outside, when he spotted the gray man walking along the beach. At first, he was terrified, but something in the figure's demeanor calmed him. As the winds picked up and the sky grew darker, the gray man looked directly at him and pointed toward his house. Thomas felt an overwhelming urge to follow his guidance. He ran home, where his family was busy preparing for the storm. Hours later, as the winds howled and the rain poured, they huddled together, grateful for the warning that had saved them. Years later, Thomas still felt a connection to the gray man, a bond that transcended the fear he had felt as a child. He wasn't just a ghost, he would say, his voice filled with emotion. He was a guardian. He came to remind us that we are never truly alone, even in the darkest moments. As the tales of the gray man spread, so did the understanding that he was more than just a spirit warning of storms. He became a symbol of hope and resilience for the community. His presence reminded everyone of the importance of family and safety, especially when the forces of nature threatened to disrupt their lives. In a small, coastal community, the gray man transformed fear into action. His appearances often prompted families to come together, preparing for storms not just for their own safety but for their neighbors as well. In a world where isolation can creep in, he served as a gentle reminder that caring for one another is vital. With each hurricane season, anticipation and respect for the gray man grew stronger. Stories of his sightings were shared at local gatherings, around bonfires, and during quiet evenings spent on porches overlooking the sea. His legacy took on a life of its own, inspiring new generations to honor the spirit that had watched over them for so long. One stormy night, as the island braced itself for yet another hurricane, a group of children gathered on the beach. With wide eyes, they listened intently to their grandparents recount the stories of the gray man. Each tale sparked excitement and trepidation, igniting their imaginations as they looked toward the horizon. Suddenly, the wind shifted, and the air grew still. The children turned to see the familiar figure, the gray man, appearing at the edge of the dunes. They gasped in unison, a mix of fear and awe washing over them. But as they observed him, they felt an overwhelming sense of safety enveloping them. In that moment, they understood that the gray man was not just a ghostly figure but a protector of their home. The fear faded, replaced by a profound gratitude for the history they were part of. They felt a connection to all those who had come before, each generation sharing in the same tradition, honoring the spirit that had guided them through life's storms. As the winds howled in the distance, the children stood together, united in their respect for the gray man. They whispered words of thanks, hopeful that he would continue to watch over them, just as he had for countless others. And in their hearts, they carried the promise of resilience, knowing that as long as they honored their history, they would never be alone in facing the storms of life. On a quiet, ordinary night, when the moon hung high in the sky and the world was wrapped in a comforting darkness, something chilling lurked just outside the light. The gentle hum of crickets filled the air, a soundtrack to the stillness, when suddenly, a soft but persistent knock broke the peace. It was a sound that sent shivers down the spine, echoing through the quiet house. Jessica, a single mother of two, looked up from the couch, her heart racing. It was late, and she hadn't been expecting anyone. The knock came again, more insistent this time. Cautiously, she glanced out the window, her breath catching in her throat. Two children stood on her doorstep, their small frames illuminated by the porch light. They were eerily still, their faces partially shadowed, but it was their eyes that sent a jolt of fear through her. Their eyes were completely black, no whites, no pupils, just endless, dark voids staring back at her. Jessica's heart pounded as she instinctively took a step back from the door. What kind of children stood there in the dead of night, eyes as black as coal? She felt a pull to open the door, a curiosity that fought against her instinct to stay away. The children looked cold and lost, their clothes tattered and out of place. She could see that they were shivering, their small bodies hunched against the night's chill. A part of her wanted to help them, to invite them inside where it was warm and safe. But another part of her screamed to run, to lock the door and never look back. The children began to speak, their voices low and strange. "Can we come in?" they asked in unison, their tone flat and unsettling. There was no emotion in their words, no pleading, just an eerie calmness that sent a chill down her spine. Jessica felt paralyzed, torn between the instinct to help and the growing dread that enveloped her. She managed to whisper, "What do you want?" "Can we come in?" they repeated, their voices now more insistent. The air around her felt thick with unease. She could feel a cold sweat forming on her brow. Something wasn't right. These were not ordinary children, something darker lingered beneath their skin, and she could sense it. In that moment, memories of stories she had heard floated to the surface. Whispers of encounters with black-eyed children, tales that sent shivers through even the bravest of souls. They were said to appear out of nowhere, seeking entry into homes, often under the guise of innocence. Those who invited them and spoke of strange happenings, an overwhelming feeling of dread, and the loss of something precious once the children crossed the threshold. Jessica's heart raced as she thought of her own children, sleeping peacefully in their rooms just down the hall. She couldn't risk it. "No," she finally said, her voice trembling but firm. "I can't let you in." The children's expressions shifted slightly, their dark eyes narrowing. The air grew heavy, the atmosphere thick with an unspoken threat. The darkness around them seemed to pulse, as if alive, reaching for her. "You don't understand," one of them said, their voice now low and chilling. "We need to come in." Jessica's instincts screamed at her to slam the door and lock it tight. As she took a step back, she saw their faces more clearly. They were pale, almost sickly, and their skin had an unnatural sheen, as if they were somehow not entirely there. Her heart raced as fear gripped her. She didn't know what these children were, but they were not innocent. With a burst of adrenaline, she turned and fled to the back of the house, locking every door and window. The knocks on the front door continued, rhythmic and demanding. The sound echoed through the hallway, reverberating in her mind. "Let us in," they chanted, their voices merging into a haunting melody that sent ice through her veins. For hours, it felt like time stood still. Jessica huddled with her children, whispering soft reassurances, but her heart was pounding with terror. As the night wore on, the knocks faded, leaving behind an oppressive silence that felt almost deafening. She dared not check, terrified of what she might find. Eventually, exhaustion took hold, and she fell into a fitful sleep, her dreams haunted by the shadows of the children with black eyes. Morning arrived, bright and calm, as if the horrors of the night had been nothing but a nightmare. Jessica breathed a sigh of relief, but the dread lingered. She cautiously opened the front door, half expecting to find the children waiting, but they were gone. Only the lingering chill of fear remained, a reminder of the dark presence that had visited her home. As she moved through her day, the encounter haunted her thoughts. Were the children real? Or was it all a trick of her mind? But the stories echoed in her head, each one chilling and vivid. Others had encountered these black-eyed children, too, people who had let them in, only to face inexplicable misfortunes afterward. Across the country, stories emerged from every corner. A couple in a small town reported a visit from two children who begged to come inside. They had felt compelled to comply, believing they were simply helping lost souls. But afterward, their lives spiraled into chaos. Their business failed, their health deteriorated, and they were left with nothing but the haunting memories of that night. In another town, a teenager had encountered the black-eyed children while walking home late at night. They had approached him, asking for help, but he had run away, feeling a primal fear wash over him. Days later, he fell gravely ill, and his friends whispered of a curse that had befallen him for rejecting their pleas. The story spread like wildfire, creating a growing sense of fear. People began to share their encounters, each one eerier than the last. The black-eyed children became urban legends, whispered about in hushed tones, a cautionary tale for parents and children alike. With each tale, the legend grew, weaving into the fabric of folklore. They became a symbol of fear, a reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind innocent appearances. Those who had encountered them often spoke of a strange feeling, a sensation of being watched, even when they were alone. It was as if the children were always just out of sight, lurking in the shadows, waiting for another chance to knock on a door. Jessica kept her children close, sharing stories of the black-eyed children, but framing them in a way that would not frighten them. She wanted them to be aware of the dangers in the world without instilling fear in their hearts. They learned to be cautious, to trust their instincts, and to always look for the truth behind appearances. As the nights turned into weeks, whispers of sightings faded, but the fear remained. The black-eyed children had left an indelible mark on the community. Their presence served as a reminder of the strange and unknown, a cautionary tale for those who dared to venture too close to the darkness. In the quiet of the night, when the wind howled and shadows danced on the walls, Jessica would sometimes hear faint knocks echoing through her dreams. They were soft at first, but grew louder, a chilling reminder that the black-eyed children could return. She would wake in a cold sweat, her heart racing, always reminding herself that she had done the right thing. Though she may never know the truth about the children with black eyes, one thing remained clear: sometimes, the darkness holds secrets that are best left unexplored, and there are things in this world that are far more chilling than they appear. In the dim glow of a computer screen, a story began to take shape, weaving itself into the fabric of modern folklore. It started with a single photograph, a haunting image that sent chills down the spines of those who stumbled upon it. A tall figure, shrouded in darkness, stood ominously among a group of children. Its limbs stretched unnaturally long, its face devoid of features, just a blank, pale canvas. This figure would become known as Slender Man, an entity that blurred the lines between myth and reality. The image was posted on a forum in 2009 as part of a contest encouraging users to create paranormal images. What started as a playful experiment quickly spiraled into something far more sinister. People began to share their own stories about Slender Man, crafting narratives filled with fear and intrigue. The myth took root in the fertile ground of the internet, spreading like wildfire through forums, social media, and fan art. Children and teenagers found themselves captivated by this tall, faceless figure, a modern-day boogeyman. As tales of Slender Man multiplied, so did the encounters. Stories emerged of people catching glimpses of him in the woods, lurking just out of sight. Some claimed he could influence minds, driving people to madness. Others insisted he was a protector of children, watching over them from the shadows. But in every account, there was an undercurrent of fear, a recognition that this figure was not something to be trifled with. In the hearts of young people, Slender Man transformed from a mere character into a source of fascination and dread. Online communities sprung up, creating artwork, fan fiction, and videos dedicated to him. He became a part of the collective consciousness, a ghost story for the digital age. Children whispered his name in darkened hallways, daring each other to summon him. The thrill of the unknown drew them in, creating a sense of belonging among those who shared in the fear. But the story took a darker turn in 2014 when two 12-year-old girls, deeply influenced by the myth, committed a horrific act. They lured a classmate into the woods, stabbing her multiple times in an attempt to prove their loyalty to Slender Man. The attack shocked the nation, raising questions about the impact of internet culture on impressionable minds. It was a chilling reminder that fiction could blur the lines of reality in the most tragic ways. The incident sent ripples of fear through communities, forcing parents to confront the terrifying possibility that the stories their children consumed could lead to real-life consequences. Conversations about the influence of social media and the importance of monitoring online activity became more prevalent. Schools began to address the myth in classrooms, emphasizing the dangers of engaging with such narratives. The myth that once sparked excitement now left a stain of tragedy. As the years passed, Slender Man evolved into a symbol of the dark side of the internet. He served as a cautionary tale, warning against the dangers of unchecked imagination and the consequences of losing oneself in a world where the lines between reality and fiction blur. The very thing that had once ignited curiosity now sparked fear and concern. Yet, despite the darkness that surrounded his name, Slender Man's legend continued to thrive. Films, video games, and web series emerged, exploring the mythology surrounding this enigmatic figure. He became a staple of horror culture, inspiring countless creators who sought to capture the essence of fear in their work. The legend was no longer just a story, it had become a phenomenon, woven into the fabric of modern mythology. Throughout it all, the question lingered, what draws us to figures like Slender Man? Perhaps it is the thrill of the unknown, the adrenaline rush of confronting fear head-on. Maybe it's the allure of a story that feels just out of reach, a tale that whispers in the dark, calling us to explore the shadows. In a world where reality often feels mundane, the extraordinary captivates our imaginations, pulling us deeper into the abyss of possibility. As more people shared their encounters with Slender Man, the mythology continued to grow. Each story added a layer of complexity to his character, transforming him from a mere figure into a multifaceted entity. Some viewed him as a monster, while others saw him as a tragic figure, an embodiment of fear and uncertainty in an increasingly chaotic world. In quiet moments, when the night stretched on and shadows danced in the corners of our rooms, Slender Man's presence could still be felt. His legend persisted, haunting the dreams of those who dared to ponder his existence. Children tucked themselves into bed, clutching their blankets tightly, whispering about the tall figure that roamed the woods. And somewhere in the dark, the myth continued to thrive, feeding on our fears and our fascination. The internet had birthed a new kind of mythology, one that reflected the complexities of our modern lives. Slender Man was no longer just a character in a story, he became a lens through which we examined ourselves, the darkness within, the struggles of youth, and the consequences of our choices. As the tale spread and morphed, the lines between the real and the imagined blurred, reminding us that the stories we tell can shape our realities in ways we cannot always predict. In the end, Slender Man stands as a testament to the power of storytelling, a reminder that the things we create can have profound effects, rippling through our lives in ways we may never fully understand. Whether we view him as a monster or a misunderstood figure, one thing is clear, the legend of Slender Man is woven into the very fabric of our digital age, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can arise when our fears take shape. In the stillness of the night, when the moon casts eerie shadows across the landscape, whispers of a creature stir in the darkness. Known as the Goat Man, this legend haunts the hearts of those who hear its name. It's a chilling tale that reverberates through the woods of America, a story that wraps itself around your senses, making your skin crawl and your heart race. The Goat Man is said to roam in various states, appearing as a terrifying hybrid of man and goat. Picture a figure that stands upright, but its head is that of a goat, with twisted horns that pierce the night sky. Its eyes glow like fiery embers, reflecting a deep hunger and an unfathomable rage. The very sight of it sends shivers down the spine of anyone brave enough to venture into its territory. From Maryland to Texas, the stories of the Goatman weave a web of fear and intrigue. Campers share tales of their encounters, their voices trembling as they recount the sounds that echoed through the trees. The unmistakable sound of hooves clattering against the ground, the rustling of leaves, and the gut-wrenching scream that pierces the silence. It's a sound that no one can forget, a warning that something sinister is lurking just beyond the reach of the firelight. In one account, a group of friends decided to camp near a secluded lake, hoping to share laughter and stories under the stars. But as night fell, the atmosphere shifted. An unsettling feeling settled over them, like a thick fog wrapping around their minds. They heard whispers in the wind, carrying tales of the Goatman, the creature that prowled the nearby woods, waiting for its next victim. Dismissing the legends as mere folklore, they laughed it off and settled into their tents. But the laughter faded when they heard the first scream echo through the night, a bone-chilling cry that sent them scrambling for their flashlights. What they found left them speechless. The bushes trembled, and in the flickering light, they caught a glimpse of a figure, tall and imposing. The Goatman stood before them, its eyes glimmering with a predatory gleam. Panic gripped their hearts as they stumbled backward, feeling the primal instinct to flee. The creature charged, its hooves pounding against the earth, and in that moment, they realized the truth. This was no mere tale to frighten children, it was a living nightmare. As they ran through the woods, the cries of the Goatman rang in their ears, a haunting reminder that they were not alone. Their laughter turned to screams, and the bond of friendship was tested as fear consumed them. In the chaos, some got separated, their frantic calls for one another swallowed by the darkness. The forest closed in around them, thick with shadows and uncertainty. Days turned into weeks, but the memories of that fateful night lingered like a ghost in their minds. Some friends grew closer, united by the shared experience, while others couldn't shake the feeling of dread. The stories continued to circulate, each encounter adding to the legend. People warned each other to stay away from the woods at night, for the Goatman was always watching, waiting for its next chance to strike. In another town, a farmer awoke one morning to find his livestock missing. The gate to the pen was wide open, and the ground was scattered with strange hoofprints that led into the dense woods. He gathered his neighbors, their faces pale with fear as they shared their own stories of missing animals and strange sightings. They knew the Goatman was near, a creature that fed on their livestock and preyed on their fears. One night, driven by a mixture of fear and determination, a group of locals armed themselves and ventured into the woods, determined to confront the beast that haunted their dreams. The moon hung high in the sky, illuminating their path as they moved cautiously through the underbrush. Every crack of a twig and rustle of leaves sent adrenaline coursing through their veins. They could feel it, the presence of something otherworldly lurking just out of sight. As they reached a clearing, the air thickened with tension. Suddenly, the Goatman appeared, its form looming large and terrifying. It let out a deafening roar that echoed through the night, shaking the ground beneath their feet. Fear gripped their hearts, but they stood their ground, united against the horror that had invaded their lives. The creature charged, but they raised their weapons, ready to fight back against the darkness. What happened next would become the stuff of legends. Some say the Goatman vanished into thin air, leaving only the echoes of its screams behind. Others tell of the group's retreat, running for their lives as the creature pursued them through the woods, the adrenaline propelling them forward until they finally broke free from its grasp. The encounter left them shaken but resolute, forever changed by the fear they had faced. In the years that followed, the Goatman became a symbol of the unknown, a reminder that there are things in this world we cannot fully understand. The legend spread, taking on new life with each retelling. Some claimed the Goatman was a guardian of the forest, a spirit protecting the balance of nature. Others saw it as a warning, a creature embodying the consequences of humanity's actions against the environment. Through the fear in the stories, the Goatman emerged as a reflection of our deepest anxieties, our fear of the unknown, our vulnerability in the wilderness, and our struggle against the darkness that can lurk within ourselves. The legend persisted, haunting the dreams of those who dared to explore the depths of the woods, reminding them that not everything that dwells in the shadows is friendly. As night falls and the moon rises, the Goatman's legend continues to echo through the hearts of those who hear its tale. With each retelling, the fear grows, intertwining with the human experience, a reminder of the creatures that dwell in the darkness and the stories that bind us together in a shared journey through fear and the unknown. In the shadows of the night, when the world is cloaked in darkness, tales of a phantom named Spring-Heeled Jack send chills down the spines of those who dare to listen. This mysterious figure is said to leap through the streets, moving with an agility that defies the laws of nature. With a face that strikes terror and a laugh that echoes like the clanging of a bell, Spring-Heeled Jack has become a haunting presence in the folklore of the United States. It began with whispers in the alleys and corners of cities. People spoke of a figure appearing out of nowhere, clad in dark clothing, with eyes that glinted like steel. The first encounters reported a creature that could jump incredible heights, soaring over fences and rooftops as if gravity had no hold on it. Victims described their encounters in hushed tones, their hearts racing as they recounted how Jack appeared before them, laughing maniacally, before vanishing into the night. One chilling account came from a young woman walking home late one evening. The street lamps flickered like candles in the wind, casting long shadows that danced on the pavement. As she hurried along, she felt a sudden chill run down her spine, a sense of being watched. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end, and she quickened her pace. Suddenly, from the darkness, a figure sprang forward, landing in front of her with a grace that made her heart stop. It was Spring-Heeled Jack, grinning wide, his eyes glinting in the moonlight. Frozen in fear, she could barely breathe. The laughter that escaped his lips sent a shudder through her body. It was a sound that felt alive, filled with a wicked joy that made her skin crawl. Jack took a step closer, and in that moment, she felt the weight of his gaze, a mixture of amusement and something darker. Just as quickly as he appeared, he leaped into the air, soaring over her head and disappearing into the night. She stumbled home, her mind racing, replaying the moment over and over. Who was he? What did he want? As word of his eerie escapade spread, more and more people began sharing their stories. In bustling cities and quiet towns, people reported sightings of the leaping phantom. Some claimed he targeted the vulnerable, lurking in the darkness until an unsuspecting victim crossed his path. Others said he was simply a mischievous spirit, playing tricks on those who dared to wander alone at night. The legends grew, intertwining with fear and curiosity, creating a tapestry of terror that haunted the collective consciousness. In one particularly harrowing tale, a group of teenagers decided to test their bravery. They gathered in a park one night, daring each other to stay out until dawn. As the hours wore on, their laughter faded, replaced by nervous glances at the shadows surrounding them. Suddenly, a loud crash broke the silence. They turned to see a figure leaping high into the air, clearing a nearby fence as if it were nothing. Heart-pounding, they watched in disbelief as Spring-Heeled Jack landed in front of them, his laughter ringing out like a warning bell. Panic erupted, and they scattered in different directions, the echoes of their footsteps mixing with the phantom's laughter. One girl found herself alone, lost in the darkness. As she turned to flee, she felt a presence behind her, a shadow lurking just out of sight. She ran until her lungs burned, but the sound of that sinister laughter chased her, haunting her every step. In the safety of her home, she locked the door and leaned against it, trembling. Spring-Heeled Jack had been nothing but a legend, a story meant to frighten children. But in that moment, he had become all too real. The lore surrounding Spring-Heeled Jack evolved over the years. Some began to believe he was not merely a spirit, but a man, one who had mastered the art of fear. His motivations remained unclear, leaving a trail of speculation and dread in his wake. Was he a protector of the night, or did he thrive on the terror he inflicted? The ambiguity only deepened the mystery, creating an aura of fascination that drew in thrill seekers eager to encounter the leaping phantom for themselves. In the small town of Salem, whispers of sightings prompted a wave of investigations. Brave souls armed with flashlights scoured the woods, determined to confront the figure that had terrified so many. One fateful night, a local man stumbled upon a clearing. The moon hung high, illuminating the scene before him. Suddenly, a figure leaped into view, a silhouette against the silver light. The man froze, paralyzed by fear as Spring-Heeled Jack landed gracefully, his eyes boring into him. But instead of fleeing, the man raised his flashlight, illuminating Jack's face. What he saw sent him reeling. The laughter had faded, replaced by a cold stare that seemed to cut through the darkness. In an instant, Jack lunged forward, and the man's instincts kicked in. He turned and ran, heart pounding, the echo of Jack's laughter trailing behind him like a ghost. After that night, the stories continued, but a sense of dread loomed over the town. The encounters varied, but the essence of fear remained the same. Spring-heeled Jack had become a legend, a reminder that sometimes, the things that leap from the shadows are not just figments of our imagination but manifestations of our deepest fears. As time passed, the legend of Spring-heeled Jack lingered, weaving itself into the fabric of local folklore. People spoke of him around campfires, recounting the stories that chilled their bones and sparked their imaginations. The phantom became a symbol of the unknown, a figure that embodied the anxieties that dwell within us all. In the dark corners of the night, Spring-heeled Jack continues to leap through the stories of those who encounter him, leaving behind a trail of fear and fascination. He reminds us that even in our modern world, there are mysteries that remain unsolved, shadows that dance just beyond the light. As long as there are stories to tell, the legend of Spring-heeled Jack will live on, haunting our dreams and igniting our imaginations with every leap into the unknown. Under the glow of streetlights, shadows danced along the pavement, casting an eerie air over the quiet towns of America. Suddenly, laughter echoed through the night, a sound that should be filled with joy but instead sent chills down the spines of those who heard it. Phantom clowns began appearing in various parts of the country, sparking a wave of fear that seemed to creep into every corner of society. What started as mere sightings soon turned into a terrifying epidemic. It all began in a small town, where a group of children playing in a park spotted something strange in the distance. A figure stood under a tree, dressed in colorful clothing with a painted face, grinning widely. At first, they thought it was a harmless performer, perhaps a jester waiting to entertain them with tricks and jokes. But as they approached, the figure didn't move or speak. Instead, it just stood there, staring with an unsettling gaze that sent shivers through their little bodies. The children hesitated, glancing at each other nervously. They had heard stories about clowns that were supposed to be fun, but this felt different. Something was off. A heavy silence enveloped the park, broken only by the faint rustle of leaves in the wind. Then, without warning, the clown suddenly lunged, its laughter ringing out in a way that echoed the darkness. The children screamed, running as fast as their legs could carry them, their hearts pounding in their chests. As news of this encounter spread through the town, whispers of phantom clowns began to take shape. Reports poured in from nearby areas, each story more chilling than the last. People described clowns lurking on street corners, peering into windows, or even standing motionless on porches. Their painted faces smiled in a way that felt more sinister than cheerful, and their laughter echoed like a haunting melody. Fear gripped the hearts of many, turning everyday outings into terrifying experiences. In one account, a woman returning home late at night spotted a clown standing near her car. She felt a surge of panic as she realized it wasn't just a harmless performer, this figure felt wrong. With a painted smile stretching ear to ear, the clown turned to face her. Its eyes seemed to glimmer with a malicious intent, sending her heart racing. She hurriedly fumbled for her keys, glancing back to see the clown stepping closer, its laughter growing louder and more unsettling. Desperate to escape, she jumped into her car and locked the doors, her breath coming in quick gasps as she drove away, heart pounding. The tales of phantom clowns began to attract attention, both in local communities and on social media. People shared their stories, some even posting photos of the figures they encountered. As the stories spread, the fear intensified. Clowns, once seen as joyful entertainers, became symbols of anxiety and dread. Parents warned their children to be cautious, and communities organized meetings to discuss the growing phenomenon. In a nearby town, a group of teenagers decided to confront their fears. Armed with flashlights and courage, they ventured into the woods where sightings had been reported. The air was thick with tension as they walked deeper into the darkness. The sound of rustling leaves and distant laughter set their nerves on edge. Suddenly, they spotted a figure in the distance, a clown, standing motionless beneath a tree. The flickering beam of their flashlights illuminated its face, revealing a grin that felt unnatural, a smile too wide for comfort. They froze, uncertainty filling the air. Would this clown bring laughter or horror? As they debated whether to approach or retreat, the figure seemed to shift, its eyes locking onto them with an intensity that sent shivers down their spines. The laughter that escaped its lips was chilling, a sound that echoed through the night. With hearts racing, they turned and ran, the sounds of their footsteps drowning out the sinister giggles behind them. Reports of phantom clowns continued to flood in, with each story weaving a deeper web of fear. Some claimed to have seen them in grocery store parking lots, others reported sightings on deserted roads. The clowns appeared unexpectedly, often leaving witnesses shaken and terrified. What started as a curiosity turned into a collective panic. News stations covered the growing phenomenon, with experts trying to explain the unsettling appearances, but the fear remained palpable. Psychologists suggested that the fear of clowns, known as coulrophobia, had surged in recent years, fueled by movies and cultural representations. But these weren't just ordinary clowns. They were shadows of something darker, tapping into primal fears and unsettling emotions. The clowns seemed to thrive on the anxiety they inspired, making their presence even more haunting. In one chilling incident, a group of children waiting for the school bus reported seeing a clown standing in the field nearby. The figure waved at them, its grin stretching impossibly wide. But instead of laughter, the children felt a wave of dread wash over them. They huddled together, unsure of what to do. When the bus finally arrived, they scrambled aboard, glancing back to see the clown still standing there, its eyes fixed on them with an intensity that sent shivers down their spines. As weeks turned into months, the sightings continued, leaving communities on edge. Fear became a part of daily life, as parents kept their children indoors after dark and schools heightened security measures. Social media buzzed with warnings and sightings, amplifying the sense of danger. People began to question their safety, wondering if the laughter they once found comforting had morphed into something sinister. The unsettling presence of phantom clowns transformed from mere sightings to a cultural phenomenon, gripping the nation in a wave of anxiety. They became more than just figures lurking in the shadows. They represented the unknown, the fears that gnaw at our consciousness. The painted faces, once symbols of joy, became reminders that even the most innocent appearances could mask darkness. As the years passed, the stories of phantom clowns faded from the headlines but lingered in the minds of those who experienced their haunting presence. The laughter that once echoed through the night became a distant memory, replaced by the haunting awareness that sometimes the things we fear are not confined to the shadows but lurk within the fabric of our everyday lives. The legacy of the phantom clowns serves as a chilling reminder that in a world filled with laughter, darkness can find a way to seep through the cracks, leaving us questioning what hides beneath the surface. In the dim light of a flickering campfire, stories weave together like threads in a grand tapestry, each tale rich with emotion and history. Around this fire, friends gather, eyes wide with wonder, hearts racing with anticipation. They know that every story shared adds a new layer to the vast and ever-growing tapestry of American mythology. This tapestry, woven from the fibers of history, culture, and imagination, is constantly evolving, shaped by the experiences and creativity of each generation. Everywhere you look, modern culture leaves its mark, infusing the ancient with the new. From the bustling streets of cities to the quiet corners of small towns, the echoes of myths and legends resonate with the heartbeat of the people. Each encounter, each whispered story, enriches the collective narrative, breathing life into characters that once roamed only in the shadows of folklore. Take, for example, the resurgence of stories about mysterious creatures lurking in the woods. Bigfoot, the elusive giant said to roam the Pacific Northwest, has become more than just a relic of old tales. He has evolved into a cultural icon, representing the wildness and untamed spirit of nature. As new sightings are reported, people share their experiences on social media, sparking discussions that ignite the imaginations of many. With every sighting, every blurry photograph, the legend grows, fueling a sense of wonder that bridges generations. Similarly, urban legends flourish in the digital age, with stories spreading like wildfire through the internet. The Slender Man, a figure that emerged from online forums, became a haunting symbol of the fears and anxieties of modern society. His story resonated deeply with those who felt lost or marginalized, a reflection of their struggles. The chilling tales of encounters with Slender Man sparked a wave of creativity, inspiring art, films, and literature. He serves as a reminder that myths can be born from the depths of our fears and transformed into something larger than life. But it's not just the creatures of the night that populate this evolving tapestry. The richness of American mythology lies also in its heroes. The stories of everyday people, those who stand up against injustice or help others in need, resonate with powerful emotions. In times of crisis, these modern-day heroes emerge, embodying the spirit of resilience and courage. The tales of those who risk their lives to save others or fight for a cause they believe in become part of the fabric that connects us all. They inspire hope and remind us of the goodness that exists in humanity. As we navigate through the complexities of modern life, the stories we tell reflect our struggles, dreams, and aspirations. The mythology we create today is deeply intertwined with the issues we face: environmental challenges, social justice, and the quest for identity. Every story shared, whether around a campfire or on a blog, contributes to a greater understanding of who we are as a people. The influence of pop culture cannot be overlooked, as it plays a significant role in shaping contemporary mythology. Movies, television shows, and music tap into the timeless themes of love, loss, and adventure, reimagining age-old myths for a new generation. Characters like Wonder Woman or Black Panther rise to prominence, embodying ideals that resonate with diverse audiences. They become symbols of strength, empowerment, and hope, weaving themselves into the fabric of American mythology. The beauty of this ever-growing tapestry is that it welcomes all voices. People from various backgrounds contribute their unique experiences and perspectives, enriching the collective narrative. The stories of indigenous peoples, immigrants, and marginalized communities find a place alongside traditional tales, creating a more inclusive and diverse mythology. This melding of cultures breathes new life into age-old stories, reminding us that every voice matters and that our differences only add to the richness of the tapestry. In this interconnected world, the lines between myth and reality blur. As stories spread across borders and cultures, they take on new meanings, adapting to the lives of those who embrace them. A tale of a ghost in a small town can resonate in a bustling city, transforming with each telling. The emotional power of storytelling remains constant, no matter where it's shared. This power connects us, weaving threads of empathy and understanding that bind us together. The tapestry of American mythology is a living entity, forever changing, growing, and evolving. It breathes with the experiences of those who share their stories, reflecting the hopes and dreams of generations past and present. Each tale is a thread that contributes to a vibrant picture of who we are as a people, rich in history, culture, and emotion. As night falls and the campfire flickers, the laughter and chatter continue. Friends lean in closer, their faces illuminated by the warm glow, eager to share their own tales. The tapestry stretches wide, embracing every story, every dream, every fear. And as they weave their narratives into the fabric of mythology, the threads grow stronger, binding them together in a shared experience that transcends time and space. In the end, the ever-growing tapestry of American mythology is a testament to the power of storytelling. It reminds us that we are all part of something greater than ourselves. Each voice, each experience, each story adds depth and richness to the narrative, ensuring that the tapestry will continue to grow, evolve, and inspire those who come after us. The myths we create today will be the foundation for the legends of tomorrow, as the fires of storytelling burn brightly, illuminating the paths of our collective journey.